Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV podcast episode 249. I am your host, Johnny V. I'm here with nobody. It's just me on the mic tonight. Dana Vitch will be joining us on the show pretty quickly here. Terry right now is traveling back from Portland. Many of you saw this past weekend. He was doing commentary with the Dosses, or Doss Jenkins, however you want to talk. Whatever name she wants to take, depending on who she's filling out forms for. But so he ended up taking a later flight today because he wanted to make sure to get things done yesterday, and it was a lot cheaper. So whenever you travel from the West Coast to the East Coast, for those of you that don't know, you lose some hours, a lot of hours. It's like a 3-hour flight, plus you lose 2 hours in difference. So you lose the entire day. So we're not going to be seeing Terry tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the Portland Open. We'll catch up with Dana. Maybe we've got a couple other events we can get to. Drew Gibson, I reached out to him, and I have not heard back from him yet. Spoiler alert, Drew won the Portland Open. You can see that out on CCDG, or, you know what? I don't say this very often. This is one of those rounds that you want to watch live. Now, you can go back and watch the two post-production crews, Jomez and CCDG. You're going to watch all 4 of those rounds. That's probably going to put you, almost 2.5 hours in, or just go and watch the live round, because with the drama that was out there, and like I said, we'll talk all about this with Dana, it's well worth it to watch that live. Watch it in real time. What a fantastic round. Other than that, I will get to a little bit of news. We'll talk to a little bit of whatever you guys want to talk about tonight, because it's more of a free flowing show. It's Johnny Goes Solo. But what we're going to do kind of right now, because I see him sitting here in our green room, we're going to catch up with one Dynamite Vitchy.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Mr. Dynamite, welcome to the show. It's just you and I. We don't have anybody sitting here to interrupt us. You and I can have a good heart-to-heart, talk whatever we want. How are you doing tonight?
JVD, I'm doing good. It's always nice when I don't got to come on following some insults thrown out by Terry. So it's good to see you. Good to be seen. We had a big week last week. A lot of disc golf, a lot of drama, a lot of just an exciting week for disc golf, and I'm excited to talk to you about it.
I'm excited too. Let's. What do you want to talk about first? You want to get right into Portland, or should we work our way up to Portland today?
Let's kind of ease into it. And I see the chat board reacting to the lack of beard.
Looking clean.
I shaved my beard. Funny story. So I was out in Colorado last week for work at Discmania headquarters, and I came home very late Thursday night. Friday morning, I woke up, got the kids to daycare, and then I came home and took a little nap because I'd gotten in at like 3 a.m. or something like that. And I woke up and I was in a bad mood, and my beard was all over my face, and I'm like, this has gotta go. And so I went and shaved it, and I go and pick the kids up, and Edith doesn't say anything. Then I go back to Lucy's room. Lucy's she's a 1.5 years, or give or take, and Lucy generally screams and smiles and runs to me. Well, this time she did the opposite and ran to her daycare teacher, and she looked at me, scowled. She wouldn't come to me. She's crying.
A fan of the clean-shaven Dana. How about? I mean, ultimately, you've got 2 kids, and they're a coin flip between the 2 of them. But what does the wife say? How about Ashley?
She doesn't like it right now because it's pretty rough. So I either have to keep it shaved down or let it grow up just a little bit. And so I think she prefers the beard, but not as long as I keep the mustache and area around the face trimmed up, she's happy. But right now, she probably prefers the very long beard versus this because it is a rough to the touch. So I'm not getting many kisses right now.
I hear you. I'll kiss you if I see you, Dana.
All right. Well, just in case anyone was wondering, it took Lucy. It's a mosquito. It took Lucy about 2 days to warm up to me. Now I think she loves me again. She realized that I am the same person. I am her father. But I wish I would. You see the videos of parents doing, a dad shaving and then going to, and the kids crying and whatnot. And I wish I would have had the reaction cam going because it was classic and it was real. Poor Lucy, but yeah, we're cool again.
Lucy might have just knocked that reaction cam away if she saw you coming.
yeah. But we're cool. She let me put her to bed tonight for the first time since I've been back, so we're on the same page.
Awesome.
But let's dive into some events and start out over the pond over in Tampere, Finland, for the Prodigy Disc Pro Tour. This was an 8-tier event with 143 total players. It was at the Tampere Disc Golf Center. And 90 open players. So that's 90 players in the MPO division. A lot of those top-rated Finns were in attendance. Number 1,000 rated players, and then of course all their young up-and-coming players. But in the end, it was a battle between a newcomer and then one of Finland's best. The newcomer being Lari Lehtinen and Vaino Michaela. They were battling it out, and ultimately Vaino was able to come back and tie Lari. Lari is only 979 rated, PDGA number 82297. Played well above his rating over the weekend, 1034, 1038, 1042. So really solid weekend. And but it wasn't enough to call it after 3 rounds. So they went into a playoff, and I saw some video of the final hole prior to the playoff, and they both had to hit big putts. And it was you could feel the excitement. And ultimately, Lori was able to hold off Vaino in the playoff. So I believe he's a teenager, probably somewhere around 16, 17. I could be wrong if anyone on the board knows, but yeah, Laurie got himself a pretty big victory there, and Vaino finished in second. Jesse Niemanen finished in third place, just one throw away. Yali Store, who we saw at the Memorial, play so well, played pretty solid. He had a 1053 rated second round, but ultimately only shot 8 under, which was 5 throws off the win, and that was good enough for 5th place. Timo Niisanen, one of the best lefties in the world, also tied Yale. So good shooting to Lari. Congratulations to him. It'll be interesting to see if he's the next Finnish star, or if he just had a really great weekend. But I would say he's probably we're probably going to see him up towards the top as time goes on. And then man, the FPO division in Finland is there's some good players.
Joke. It's really no joke. I mean, we saw some great FPO playing this weekend here in the States, but the women over there are amazing, and I don't even see Kristen Tatar on this list. So there's another one over there that just they've got a really great budding, so to speak, field in FPO that is. I just wish we had him over here. I wish they would come over here and play more, because I really want to see him up against top tier Cat and top tier Paige and Paige Bjerkis right now, and I want them all in one place.
Oh man, that would be great. And not only top tier FPO players, but I feel like Finland is just stacked with lots of young MPO talent too. Although he wasn't able to win this weekend, Vino, forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong, but he's really he's been terrorizing those Finnish and European events over the last maybe 2 years. We saw him come over early season and touring around playing with Seppo. Ultimately didn't play all that great here in the States with I believe that may have been his first time. I don't know if he came over for USDGC, but lots of great young talent. And then this Lari, I think, is just kind of a taste of what's going on in Finland. These a lot of young players coming up and playing a lot of disc golf. They've probably been going to the European Open and watching these epic battles that Paul Macbeth has had, and all these great players, and inspiring them to play. And now we're starting to see them come into themselves and play some really good disc golf. So yeah, Finland, Europe, they've definitely don't have a lack of talent. But for the FPO side over there at Tampere, it was a Henna Blumrose and Evelina Salonen battle yet again, but not it wasn't as close as it has been in the past. This weekend, Henna, she owned Evelina only by 7 throws, but it was never really close. Henna started out with a 67 to Evelina's 71, and from there she added 2 strokes after the second round, and then beat her by 1 during the third. So she had the best round all 3 rounds, and was ultimately able to come away with the 7th throw win. And finishing in 3rd place was Heidi Lane, also from Finland. So congratulations to both Henna and Lari. Good shooting, and it's going to be interesting to see, if Lari is, if this was, just a bust out weekend, or an outlier. But he's young enough where I think, we're going to see him at some of these bigger events, especially when the Americans come over there later this summer. We might see him up near the top. I heard he's sponsored by Discraft. So.
Oh, nice. Another Discraft pickup. I just checked. Henna and Evelina are both slated for European Open, which will be good because we'll get to see hopefully them play against some of our women that travel over there. And they're scheduled to play PDGA Worlds, so they're going to be coming over to this side of the pond, where hopefully we'll get some coverage of them on some FBO cards. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm gonna get my wish.
Awesome. And what's their ratings are, just to put it in perspective for everybody, 964 for Henna, and Evelina is at 958. So they're definitely at that elite status. And of course, we saw Evelina win at the Memorial earlier this year, so she's got that monkey off her back. Next, we'll have to have Henna get that U.S. win that big U.S. win under her belt. So I'll look forward to seeing them at the big European events, and then also, like you said, here in the U.S. Because it's as much as I love what has been the Cat and Page show as of late, it would be nice to see see another couple names in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one more before I want to dive into the Disc Golf Pro Tour Portland Open, and that is the 2 days in May, which was over at the Blockhouse in Spotsylvania, Virginia. This is their big annual event. They have C tiers during the week. They have tiki golf, all kinds of exciting things going on. Camping on site. It's a beautiful private facility. I highly recommend going over there. Playing the tiki course. It's one of my all-time favorite courses. But for the event, which was an A tier, it was played on the dark side and the sunny side. I believe this is the location of a couple of courses for the women's U.S. Women's Championship.
U.S. Women's this year, yeah.
Yep. So you'll get to see it then. Tea Time Disc Golf was there filming the action, and they were they were there for Paul McBeth's first round. Yes, Paul McBeth was not in Portland. He was in his current home state of Virginia, playing in this A tier. There's 142 total players, 72 on the open side, so packed course, foursomes on every hole. But Paul, first round, was able to play a pretty good round, just a little 15 under on the sunny side, par 60 layout, which is just about 6,525 feet through the mostly woods. But yeah, he popped off a 45, which it wasn't Dan Hastings level, but it was 1090. So
15 under, that's fine. You're right. It's no Hastings, our guest from last week, but a 1090 rated round.
Yeah, not bad, especially when no one else in the MPO division scratched the 40s. The next best, I believe, was Andrew Fish shooting a 50, which was 1045 rated. So really good disc golf from Andrew. But he found himself 5 throws off the lead. And from there it was kind of easy sailing for Paul. He went 10-22, 10-15 during rounds 2 and 3, and that was on those were both on the dark side before they got back to round 4 for the sunny side, where he again shredded and again shot in the 40s, but this time a 49, which was 1057 rated. That ultimately put him 7 throws ahead of Chris Dickerson, who beat Stephen Miller by 1 throw, and then behind him was Andrew Fish. Some great talent there at 2 days in May, but no one really could come all that close to Paul. The dark side, he didn't really, going 10-22, 10-15, not quite up to Paul McBeth standards. The dark side is a really difficult, tight, wooded course. It's not as long as sunny side, with the the dark side coming in at 5,729 feet. On the FPO side, it looked like it was going to be a McBeth sweep. After 3 rounds, Hannah McBeth was holding off a lot of great players, 11 total FPO players. And what Hannah did over the first 3 rounds, rating-wise, was 961, 944, 939. She's currently rated 905. She continued that trend of playing above her rating during the final round, shooting a 62, 938 rated round. But unfortunately for Hannah, one of the GOATs, Elaine King, said, I'm going to shoot a 58, 974 rated final round, and she beat her by 1 throw. So kind of a heartbreaker for Hannah. It looked like she was going to get a really nice, high quality A tier win, but unfortunately, still a good weekend. She finished in 2nd place, 1 throw behind Elaine. No shame in getting beat by Elaine King, one of the greatest FPO players of all time. Kristen Parsley finished in 3rd place, and Maryland local Kelly Boyce finished in 4th.
Hannah can just add her name to the list of women that have been beat by Elaine King. That's almost more prestigious than actually winning the event is taking 2nd to Elaine King. If you go back through Elaine's history, I guarantee you see every top player in our sport take 2nd to Elaine King at some point.
Yeah. She's definitely broke a lot of hearts over the years, and another one there in Hannah McBeth. But again, Hannah played great, well above her rating all weekend. She's been on tour playing a lot of the big events with Paul, and hasn't. I think she's missed cash more than she has cash. So maybe this will be the turnaround weekend for her to keep it above that 900 mark, and to get into the cash, and maybe even compete for some big wins like she did this weekend. So congratulations to her, to Elaine, and of course to Paul for getting the win there. Kevin Gleason won on the Masters side, beating Mike Mosier. Kevin Gleason's having a really good year. We saw him win on the MPO side at the Philly Open, beating a stacked field over there, and then getting the win here at the 2 days in May in the MPO 40 side. And then I should say I just got a message back from Drew. I messaged him asking if he was going to smash some box tonight, and he said no, he is playing disc. So
yeah, he messaged me as well just a second ago. Goes, oh, I got this message from Dana. Sorry, I didn't see yours, but I'm out playing disc. And I said, hey man, have fun, enjoy it. Today's a weird day because the tournament finished yesterday, so I was actually thinking like, oh, the day after these big events is a lot of times a rest day for some of these players or a travel day. And I was hoping we'd get him on, but ultimately we should have him, hopefully, cross our fingers, we'll get him on next week to talk about his first big win. Yeah,
I would, that would be one that I would stay up for. So would definitely love to hear from Drew. And I am a little surprised that he's out playing right now. Hopefully it's a nice recreational round where he can stress-free and enjoy himself. But let's get into the Disc Golf Pro Tour out there in Oregon. The Discraft's Portland Open, presented by Bevel Craft Brewing. Johnny V, this was a fun weekend.
It was so much fun.
I mean, you were working the controls for SmashBoxx. You guys obviously working with the Disc Golf Pro Tour again, and you're switching for YouTube and on the Roku side of things. Is that correct?
Correct. We're always pushing it out to both of those platforms. I know there's a lot of people that ask a lot of times, like, how many viewers does the Roku stuff side get? I don't know, to be honest. I can see the YouTube analytics. I don't get to see any of the Roku stuff. I think that's something separate that maybe Steve has access to that I don't see. I just kind of push it out. But I did see that the YouTube side hit over 5,000 viewers again this weekend. So I would think that there's a couple hundred out on the Roku at least. If we got 5,000 out on YouTube, that there's hopefully a few hundred out on Roku right now.
Yeah, I'd say that's a safe estimate. So let's go ahead and dive into the FPO side. Before we get there, 133 total players on the weekend. Tournament director Jeff Spring, Zoe Andike, and Dustin Keegan, I believe, were the assistant tournament directors, both Oregonians. But FPO side, 23 total players, and I think I want to say this is since the World Championships in 2014. This is probably the first time for most of these players, aside from maybe a few of the Northwest locals, for being back out of Blue Lake. Generally, when the tour is out in the Northwest, they're hitting Milo, and then historically, a lot of times before the Disc Golf Pro Tour, it went from Milo out to the East Coast. So there wasn't a whole lot of time to hang out and take in Portland or maybe stay for another local event. So Blue Lake, a really great course, and one that a lot of these players, probably haven't played in 5 years.
Some of these younger guys have never played it. I mean, Drew Gibson, who obviously won, I think he was there in 2014. I think that was like his second year of pro. So that would make sense to me that he was out there. But
so I've got Drew Gibson was there. I know that for a fact because I played around at Blue Lake with none other than Drew Gibson, Nico Locastro, and Jeremy Colling. So it was thinking back to it, it was an interesting round. There was definitely some tensions between a few of the players, and some of that was because of the how they mark the out of bounds there. So we've got the fairways and then the tall grass, and the tall grass is marked along the tall grass. There's stakes, and at the World Championships there was not a string or out of bounds line, and I believe that was the same case for this weekend. Johnny?
Correct. Yeah, correct. There was no out of bounds string. We did see on the FBO side, and lately Sarah Hokum has been kind of the go-to. She carries her own string with her so that she can go from post to post.
See,
And
now that let me interrupt. I championed for this at the one of the first at the first disc golf pro tour at the Green Mountain out in Vermont. We were playing the Fox Run, and it was staked out. And I told Steve and maybe Jeff, I said each group needs to go out with a 10-meter string or something like that. Whatever the farthest point between stakes is. Why should we be making calls where you might not have a clear answer where that string
I'm
will
100% with you. I think it should be they should just take these if they don't want to take the time to string the whole course. And I understand it's a lot of string, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of cleanup. Then just hand each player 10 meters of string. Just buy it,
Yep.
string it, cut it, string it, cut it. You have to do it 200 times, and then you toss one in like a bag or a player's pack or something, or you wind it up nice and you give it to a player and you say, hey, if you need it, it's there for you. Everybody keep it. Kind of like what you tell people with caddy guides. Everything you need's in the caddy guide. Here it is. Please use this. If you're not going to take the time or you don't have the time to actually string a course, just every player, not just every group, but every player, I think.
Yeah, and I like that because it's you don't have to spray paint. It's a little more friendly on the environment. And obviously, I don't know if you've laid string out, Johnny. I have. It's not fun, and especially with every hole literally being lined with out of bounds. And I think it would have been a smart and easy call to either, like you said, give each player string or at least each group when they tee off on hole one. That seems like a really easy answer, and that's great. That I love to hear that the veteran Sarah Hokum is carrying the string around, because it's not fun making those calls and going back to that 2014 round with Big Germ, Drew, and Nico. There we had multiple instances where it was in question, and it didn't make for a very fun round. I can leave it at that. Tensions were flaring. But again, the Blue Lake course, great course, a real challenge. I think that both Ian from Central Coast and Perkins during their commentary both kind of likened it to the Winthrop Gold of the Northwest, and that's a pretty it's a kind of a fair
marks.
Yeah, and I think it 5 years later, the course still provides a really great challenge, and it's a lot of fun to play too. So let's talk about the FPO side. What did we see after round one from the ladies there, Johnny?
Round one, Paige came out to, I believe,
Since you don't have it in front of you, I can interject.
Well, I think it was like Paige and Kat were tied at like 500. Yeah. They had 5 strokes on the entire group or on the entire field.
Yep, they both popped off 61s, which were 1,002 rated. And again, going back to the World Championships, it was a battle between those two, between Paige and Kat, with Kat ultimately winning by 2 throws. And the semifinal round was at Blue Lake, and the finals were at Blue Lake. So this was where the winner was decided. And flashing back to 2014, during the semis, Paige popped off a 49 and to Kat's 54, and then also she beat Kat by 1 during the final 9, but it wasn't enough for her to overcome and get the world championship. So maybe a little Paige remembering what happened back then, Kat remembering that she beat Paige, and Paige wanting to maybe get get that win out there. But so yeah, it was kind of a 2-horse race from the beginning. Next best, as you said, was 5 throws away, and that was Lisa Fakis and Paige Bjerkes, both shooting 66s, which were 964 rated rounds. So pretty solid rounds. From there, Kat and Paige continued to battle it out. Really, the difference maker was round 2, where Paige beat Kat by 2 throws, shooting a 66 to her 68, and they matched final round, shooting 61s again. And this time with the perfect conditions, it was only rated 999. So Paige was able to get her revenge, so to speak, there at Blue Lake and win the Portland Open by 2 throws over Kat. And one thing that I really, that's, I got my Paige Pierce shirt on too by chance. But one other thing that jumped out to me was Lisa Fakis finishing in 3rd place.
We haven't seen her very much recently. I mean, she's just kind of been in that 2nd to 3rd grouping of FPO players. We've seen, well, I mean, for the 2nd round, we saw Madison Walker come out and shoot a 4 under par, and was really only down by a few strokes going into that final round after she jumped up to the lead card with Rebecca Cox, I believe is what it was. And then she had a rough go of it the 2nd round, I believe. Or was this the 3rd round? I forget. They all run together.
Madison had the hot round, round 2.
Yes, round 2. And so we saw Lisa actually show up and play very, very well. And some of the putting that she's known for really shined out on this course. I thought this was it seemed like this was a putter's course for me. A lot of the players were leaving themselves 30, 40 out, except for Kat at one point, who was 0% for circle 1 and 0% for circle 2, and had
everything under the bucket.
Everything was under the bucket. But everybody else was putting except for Kat.
Yeah. So yeah, good to see from another classic Paige and Kat battle. I unfortunately wasn't able to take that in live, but I am going to go back and watch that when I do have some time. And then Lisa Fakis, Rebecca Cox finishing in a tie for 3rd place. As we alluded to earlier, Madison Walker played well, with the highlight of the weekend being a 62 for round 2, which was 982 rated. So really good round there from Madison. But Jessica Weiss bounced back. I believe she miss cash at Masters Cup. I know she's kind of been.
I don't recall.
I want to say that she may have found herself on. Yeah, she did find herself on the outside looking in from the cap line. So good to see Jay Weezy bounce back there. Kona played well. We've seen Kona kind of up and down this year, also a few times on the wrong side of the cash line. So good to see those ladies playing well. And then obviously the Paige and Kat show is always a treat.
It was really interesting watching the two of them play, and especially watching the way Paige was playing, really aggressive at times, as is Paige's kind of
that's
MO.
right.
But watching her make mistakes and then follow them up with huge putts. She'd blow an approach and come up 40 short and then drain a 40-footer. She'd go OB on a throw where you're thinking, why are you even attacking here? Why are you going OB? And then she drops down like a 60-footer in the final round.
Tell us about the
amazing.
Yeah. She had some two throw-ins, or was one of those a really long jump? I know Paige has some extreme distance on her jump putt, but did she have two throw-ins during that final 9?
During the final round, let me take a look here. She had an 80-footer and a 70-footer. The 80-footer was on hole 10, and that's a 295-foot shot. And so you clearly know that she went out of bounds. because she took an eagle on a 440-foot shot a couple holes later. So this 295-foot shot was just, it was just silly, a silly mistake to make, and she knows it. But Paige is the person who probably goes OB more than almost anyone in that field, but can make up for it with all the birdies that she gets. And then on hole 15, again, she goes out of bounds on her approach, if I remember correctly, near the basket, throws it to the left into the tall grass, pulls it out, and drops down the 7. I thought it was 60 feet, but it was 70. A 70-footer, just money. It was ridiculous what Paige was doing out there with her putter. She scares me so much from 15 to 25 feet, but outside of that circle, I just assume they mostly are going in. I don't know why. You get her in that long-range jump putt, and she's deadly. I don't understand it, but she's winning events, and she finally kind of broke the Cat winning streak here at Blue Lake. So, and I mean, it was close.
Yeah. What happened on hole 18? I mean, Cat was charging there. She birdied 16 and 17, and then took the boat. Where Paige went birdie par on 16, 17, and then it going into 18. Paige pars it for the win, and Cat takes a bogey.
Yeah, I mean, it was
out of position.
The bogey was just dumb. I mean, she flat out missed like a 10-footer or something. I mean, she knew she had lost, and then just after Paige had about a 8 to 12-footer. Cat had maybe a 15-footer. Cat missed it, walked up and just dropped it in and kind of ran away. And literally, I think she ran away as she maybe didn't want to necessarily be on camera and things like that. And then Paige drops in, and everybody celebrates. It was, it was a 2-stroke win overall, but really it was a 1-stroke win. I think had it been a little bit more important, Cat probably would have put a little bit more thought into it. But ultimately, it's like Double G's win last or at the Masters Cup. It was a 7-stroke or a 6-stroke win, but he laid up on an easy shot the final hole because he knew he didn't have to. So it ended up being one worse. It was kind of the same way. Paige just she just is relentless, and it's fun to watch when she's firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and Cat's been firing on all cylinders as of late. So they both have had some really good Beaver State fling battles. I know I've seen one in recent years where Cat won in a playoff. I think they've had a couple playoffs, if memory serves. Probably go over to the Disc Golf Guys YouTube channel to watch those playoffs. But I've seen one where Cat jams a big putt on their first playoff hole for the victory. So the Beaver State fling, I know that for these tour players, and especially Paige and Cat, means a lot. It's one of the Milo's one of those special places, and then with them two having the history from the World Championships, and then many Beaver State fling battles, even going into playoffs. That's gonna be another fun one to watch, and I'm looking forward to that in 2 weeks. But let's.
I'm looking forward to it too because I'm gonna be there.
What are you doing there, Johnny?
I'm gonna be doing catch camera for Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. I volunteered my services because I've. So this is good and bad, and I feel really bad about this a little bit. But so Terry and I made this plan. Hey, I've never been out to Beaver State. It's one of those kind of I want to get to. I'm not playing it, but I want to get out there. I want to be on the course. I want to kind of see this go down. And I said, if you need a cameraman, let me know. I can be a poor cameraman as well as anybody else. It's not my strength, but I can get out there. So we made these arrangements probably 2 months ago. And about a month ago, I get a call from my mother, and she says, "Hey, we're going to do a surprise 90th birthday party for your grandmother." And I was like, "Oh, this is great. When are you doing it?" She's like, "June 6th. And I'm like, "Okay, cool." Crap. I've already made plans to go to Oregon. And she's like, "Well, can you break them?" I'm like, not really. I'll I'll call, I'll FaceTime and say hi to grandma. I see her. I see her frequently. I mean, we see her a couple times a year, and our kids are good, and we hang out with them relatively frequently. And my wife and the kids are going to go up and visit, but I felt really bad that I'm not going to go to my grandmother's 90th surprise birthday party. So, and they're making a big deal of it they're inviting like every family member who is on any part of the family tree. So I'm going to have to make a FaceTime call and wish my grandmother a happy 90th birthday, even though I think her birthday is this week and they're going to super surprise her. So I felt bad. I'm going to be missing that, but I'm going to go to Beaver State Fling. So I can't feel that bad.
John, you're going to enjoy it. All right. So a couple tips. Hopefully you'll have some good weather, but bring your swim trunks. The Clackamas River is right there. It's after the rounds or between rounds even. It's great to hop in and take a dip. The water's nice and cold, refreshing. Maybe even before the event, if you have time, you can do a float. I know a lot of the players enjoy doing that, busting out kayaks or tubes. In fact, going back to the 2014 Worlds, a lot of us, I think we had a huge crew, probably 20, 30 of us doing a float, and Ashley and her girlfriend were doing it, and they were flying out that afternoon, and they missed their flights out of Oregon. So just make sure you budget your time if you're doing a float, but highly suggest that. And if you like ice cream, like I do, Salt and Straw, there's a couple different locations around Portland. Definitely go to Salt and Straw as many times as possible. So those are,
that won't be a problem, hopefully.
Those are my two big Beaver State Fling tips. And then Milo, it's just a special place, and you're gonna roll in there, and after seeing the videos for years and hearing about it, and you're gonna be like, oh, yeah, now I know why, and I'm excited for you.
I'll get to grandma's 100th. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into the MPO side. I feel like they're of the Portland Open. Let's talk about that. There was an incredible amount of things going on, and not to I've brought it up time and time again because I've been wrong. But at the beginning of the year, I said we're gonna have events where it's gonna be close. There's going to be 2 cards worth of people. Maybe someone will win from the second card, and yada, yada, yada. And that hasn't been the case. It's been, Paul McBeth dominating, or Ricky Paul, whatever the case may be. And, it hasn't been, number of people in contention. But that wasn't the case here this weekend, was it?
It wasn't. I mean, we saw Ricky kind of jump up there, but this has been the season of new winners. And we saw a couple people that we don't normally see at the top. I mean, James Proctor, Adam Hammes, Michael Joe, give or take, depending on which side of the country you're on, is depending on if he's going to be on the top of the cards or not. That was they were the leaders after the first round, because I remember looking at that card for day 2. So day 1 goes by and Hammes shoots the hot round, and I was like, I'm like, oh, geez. We're going to have a card of Hammes, Simon. Everyone loves Simon. Michael Joe and James Proctor. And they're all great players and great golfers, but they're not star caliber. They're not the draw in the live viewers that we normally look for. You always want a name like a Ricky, Paul, Sexton, Nico, someone that brings viewers in. And Simon was the only one. And I was thinking like, oh, this is probably kind of a lame round going into round 2. And it didn't turn out to be the case. It turned out to be relatively exciting. Yeah.
What was exciting for you? Switching aside from the golf, we saw some good golf, but 3 of the 4 weren't able to match their round 2 scores.
No.
They all shot in the 50s first round, and I think only Simon was able to continue that trend.
He was the only one. It was 2 totally different conditions as well. So for most of the players, or about half the players in the first round, it was nasty and rainy. So we saw a lot of the guys who started earlier play well, and the guys who started later on in the afternoon, they did not play as well for the most part. I think all of the guys who were on the lead card, maybe except for Simon, shot in the morning and during the good weather. So then you go to the second round where you get the most perfect day of disc golf you could ask for. Almost no wind, green, gorgeous, lush grass, just beautiful fairways, and some of our best players. So going into round 2, before the round even starts, we're about to spin up live, and all we hear is Kevin Jones is on a heater. Like, that dude is just lighting it up. And so, sure enough, we open up and we say, send a cameraman out there, get somebody on Kevin. And as is kind of the Smashbox tradition, usually by the time we get somebody out there, I don't know if it's a jinx, I don't know what it is, but you turn around and suddenly it's like bogey, par, par, bogey, bogey. That's how they usually finish. And Kevin finished, I think, birdie, bogey, birdie. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Birdie, bogey, birdie, to finish up with us kind of following him around a little bit. So he shot that 15 under, and we all thought, all right, that's going to get him up near the top, but there's no way it's going to hold. All these top guys, they're going to pass him. He's not going to be on the lead card. It didn't happen. The second day, in the great conditions, nobody really shot outrageous like we saw Kevin. I thought we were going to see a couple 14s and a 13, and we ended up seeing a 12, 11, and a 10. Eagle got himself up there.
Yeah, that course, Johnny, the course is, these guys make it look easy, but it's really hard. And then, with out of bounds lining, literally every hole, it's easy to, to have a hiccup here and there, but let's just appreciate that round from Kevin really quick. I mean, just unbelievable.
I mean, his par was when he went OB and he threw it in then from 60 feet on hole 12. And then he took a bogey on 17, which for everyone that saw 17, I hate to say it, but you hardly have a fairway there. Like the first 150 to 200 feet, you've got a nice open line. You need something to kind of get up and flip. But once you get in that woods, it's there is a line there, but it's skinny. You have to land in a specific spot. You have about a 20-foot wide zone that you can land in. And if you land too far left, you're going to have to try to pull some weird hyzer out. If you land too far right, there's just scattered trees. And so to take a bogey, he ended up throwing it straight left off the tee. So he got himself into some garbage right away. It wasn't even that he couldn't, then he just kind of chunked his way down the fairway. So
yeah, it's a difficult hole and kind of a different taste from the whole course. The whole course is for the most part really clean. You can see the fairway, where you're throwing. Where this one, you're essentially after that first shot, even if you throw a good one, you're kind of scrambling to get that birdie. And unfortunately for Kevin, he did have that blemish, but it's a really, really difficult hole. I got to mention it. Terry brought it up during the broadcast. Pro Worlds played very similar back in 2014, and Macbeth was during his comeback was able to get the 3 on that hole. So
that's amazing to me.
For those of you that watch this weekend, whether it was live or watch these post-produced rounds, McBeasy got the 3Z on that one. Pretty incredible stuff.
Kevin, his putting was really on point. I mean, to shoot a 15, it kind of has to be usually, but Kevin he's kind of like Paige to me, that he scares me a little bit from 15 to 25 feet because he has so much. The way he putts, just it seems to come in low a lot, and then but once he gets far enough out where he can kind of give a little more power and a hop to it, it's a line drive right into the heart of the basket. So similar to Page, once you get him outside that circle and he gets that little hop into his putt, man, that guy is deadly. Like just deadly. Like Reed Fiscura deadly. Just where he just on a line hard. He's got to make sure to hit basket though, because if not, that's a 30-foot comeback.
Yeah, and I feel like his putts are he's one of those putters that's it's either high or low, mostly low if he's missing. And during this record-breaking round, he was able to drill 4 circle 2 putts with U-disc telling us 2 38-footers and 2 60-footers. But yeah, if he's outside the circle, we usually see him jumping. If it's whether it's 38 feet or 33 and a half, 34 feet, he's itching to jump. And really great round. And just it was fun watching. I wasn't able to take in the live, but I had U-disc up and saw him jump all the way up, and it was exciting seeing, all right, is he going to hang on? Is he not? And, the gut feeling, initially was like, he's, he made a great move. He's going to be in the top 10. But, then towards the end, I wasn't pulling for players to not throw well, but I wanted to see him, rewarded and play on the lead card final round. And, got to play them all, and sure enough, it worked out. He made his way up 30-something spots to the lead card.
And this event, for me personally, seemed to take a lot of twists and turns, because all during the second day, during this gorgeous weather, there was this looming threat of day 3 rain. It's Portland, so you figure it's going to rain, but everything said the morning is going to be good. Come about 3 o'clock, though, right when we tee off, it's supposed to be like 75% chance until about 6. So all of our cameramen were ready for rain. They all had their ponchos and their stuff wrapped up. And all I kept thinking was, we're going to see a rain round, and all the guys who shot a little bit earlier that got through about halfway through the course might have a better chance to catch them. And so we're going to get stuck with this kind of boring round again, where we don't see anybody shoot well and somebody sneaks up off the second or third card. I was thinking that just maybe had a little bit better conditions, because I was kind of expecting more around the first round, where maybe some of the guys who shot well day 1 would shoot well day 3. And we were fortunate that all the rain held off. Like, I don't know how it happened, what broke up, what mountains got in the way, but it was cloudy, but I don't believe there was hardly any rain at all. Maybe a few drops early on, but for the most part, it held off, and it was an exciting final round.
Yeah, and the conditions were great. It was like low 70s, 5 to 7 miles per hour. So, nothing really to mess with the players, and it made for a really fun round. And as I said earlier, a lot of players in the mix. If you look at the final standings, from first through 5th place, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 total players. That was 7 total players. With 5th place was 2 strokes from the win. So pretty awesome stuff. Very fun to watch. What did you take away from that final round? I know what I saw, but I'm interested to hear the Johnny V take. You saw every hole played by the lead card up to that point. What did you see during the final round?
It was kind of funny, because knowing that we had a card out there, again, the Eagle and Drew card that was lighting it up. And then because they had a few holes on us, they were getting all these birdies. And so they jumped up into the tie for the lead, or the lead at times. And it's obviously, it's kind of deceiving, because you think, oh great, yeah, they have a 2-stroke lead, but that's because they played 5 or 6 extra birdie holes that we haven't played yet. So behind the scenes, we're always talking about, okay, do we get a cart? Do we get a guy out there? Oh, how about this? At one point, there was talk of us, I forget, we had a guy on the second card. There was talk of us dropping off the second card and going to the third card because I believe it was Ricky, I think, who was on the third card, who's starting to light it up. And so someone said, should we just go over to Ricky instead of the second card? And I'm like, no, let's just stick with the second card because I don't think anyone's going to come off the third card to win this. Thankfully, they didn't. Had Ricky shot 2 more better, I would have a lot of egg on my face.
If Ricky's 14 was a 16,
correct.
But
yeah, exactly. I mean, had he shot a course record or tied it, I believe is what. Something like that. He would have won, or had even been 1 stroke closer. Things can change. It's so sticking with the second card, and even at that point, halfway through the round, I'm not that concerned. I'm never that concerned about the second card because we so rarely see anybody come off of it to win. So I always, in the back of my head, kind of dismiss it. We try to cut over when there's a few shots, like, oh, look, we have a chance to get a putt from the co-leader, the leader right now. But and I keep thinking, we'll catch him. Not a big deal. Well, then Simon kind of faltered. And it became like come the back 9, and then it got real interesting. Like it come to a hole 13, the same hole that the previous day we had the Hamas incident on, which we'll talk about in a little while. Simon threw a forehand, and it never came in bounds. And at that point, all I kept thinking is like, oh, he's shooting from the FPL pad. And I thought, okay, Paige eagled this from the FPL pad. She threw a 450-foot shot, lined it down.
Mm-hmm.
Simon can still get a par here. And then Simon throws, comes up short, and then doinks a putt and gives up a stroke. And at this point now, the doors are wide open for everybody.
But to Simon's, we'll say it's to Simon's advantage. I think after right about that time, the chase card they were on 17 or 18. So he ultimately could see the path to first place.
Yep.
Because those guys had jumped him, and he, I think it was maybe on 15 or 16, he saw that he had to, either birdie 2 of the holes or birdie, 3 of them. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. And we saw, and I don't remember if it was on camera or not. I think it was, or I can't remember if I just saw it on the corner of my screen. When the second card got to hole 15 and Drew Gibson just muffed a 12-footer or 14-footer, whatever it was. It was close, and he didn't even give it. What was that?
It was on hole 16.
On hole 16, okay. Oh yeah, I see that. 16. He just ganked it, and it hit chains and it fell out. I don't know if it got hardly any chains, and he's walked over and he picked it up and he kind of put it in the basket, and you could tell like he kind of looked back and down at one point. I don't know what he was looking at, if something distracted him or he was just looking at like, what did I just do? Wanting his putt back. And all I kept thinking is like, oh, that's it for Drew. We're probably not going to see him take this down now. And then sure enough, we get later.
He 17, 18.
Yeah, then he goes and birdie 17 and 18. And then you've got Eagle who makes up a stroke on 16. He gets to 17 and only gets a par, which I can only say only because it's a difficult shot, but he gets a little hung up at one point. And then 18, we're all sitting here, and I think my jaw is still on the floor because Eagle puts himself in a perfect position, an absolutely perfect position for a birdie, for the lead. And ultimately what would have been for the win, but nobody knew that because Simon was still coming down the mountain.
Sure.
Eagle
would have put a tremendous amount of pressure on Simon. I mean, Simon would have
had to birdie out.
Would have known he had to birdie out, and if not more. But at that point,
Eagle tosses up that putt. It's low and left. It catches a little bit of chain. It catches a little bit of basket. Kind of swings around and flops out the back. And then Eagle's body does the same thing. Falls down, rolls over, squats down, gives the atomic elbow to his putter, which I jokingly said to you beforehand. I was a little disappointed because that putter didn't do anything. He should have gone and grabbed the other putter and done it. But and all you could think is like, oh, I can't even imagine what Drew was thinking at that point. Like, suddenly Drew had to have been thinking he's done. Again, a bridesmaid, never the bride. And then the door opens, and now they have to wait for 4 holes while Simon comes through. And Simon can see what he needs to do.
Yeah. I'm still, Simon, hole 16, it looked like he played a conservative upshot. 16 it was one of the hardest holes on the course. I think it played the hardest all weekend, and it seemed like he played a wide right to left hyzer shot that really didn't give him a high percentage access to the green. It's more of one where you have to come in straight versus right, or versus coming in on the left. But ultimately he kind of trickled in there and drilled a really good putt. I say drilled, but it trickled in, but nonetheless
barely over the.
And I was yelping because I was like, all right, Simon, he's I didn't think he had a putt for one, and then two, he snuck it in, and it was like, okay, we're at least gonna see a playoff.
Yeah, it was interesting. You're right. The route he took, because he took that big hyzer, and I don't know what he was trying, like what the goal was. Was it to just get to the mouth, or was it to get deeper in and break through to get closer? Because you're right, that's pretty thick trees there. And
yeah, did he know I wonder if he knew knew what the scores were. I mean, I feel like he probably had to. But I mean, I've thinking back to when I've been in some situations where knowing the scores would have helped, I haven't known, just said I don't care, I'm playing my game. But I mean, you have to think that he had to know that he needed a birdie all 3 of those, because that was a really I'll be interested to find out if he knew where the scores were at leading into that upshot, because it was, even though he did get the birdie, I feel like it was a little bit of luck that it did filter through to give him that putt.
Yeah, and then he gets to 17 and he throws it off to the left, where he gets he gets in a little bit of trouble up there. And once you get to the left, it's so hard to get a birdie, because now it's pretty heavily wooded, and you can't get far enough down the fairway in order to give yourself a putt at the birdie. So he throws, and it goes maybe 120 feet, some roller off the side, throws it up there. He eventually gets up there for a par, and not a bad score on 17 by any means.
That was I'd say that was a good par. He had to ultimately make a really good 4th shot to get himself on the putting green. But then from there going into 18 is such an easy par 4, and we saw him biff it the day before and saw off a hyzer, like one of the mistake you do not make on hole 18 is a hyzering off, or is sawing off a hyzer, a righty hyzer. And he did that. So he made a really good adjustment final round on 18 and put himself in a position to throw a very easy hyzer shot. That whole play is either you play an inside hyzer off the tee, which can land you in some trouble but give you a straight on upshot, or you can play more of a power outside hyzer, and then you can ultimately from there either depending on where you end up, take the big hyzer around the out of bounds, or throw some sort of straight to and left to right shot and hyzer at the green. And Simon was in a perfect position for just a very, very simple hyzer, and he missed it. You could tell right off the hand it was that it was going to be
left.
It was going to push the out of bounds, and I think it hit the wall, and you could see Simon's reaction, and I think you could even hear him say something. It was a it was a really surprising miss that left him with a low percentage putt, and one that he didn't make, and ultimately led us to the playoff that we saw between Drew and Eagle.
Yeah, I wasn't sure on Simon's second shot. Like, I kind of figured he fluffed it a little bit, but part of me thought, well, I wonder if he kind of purposefully threw it a little short because it's a little wider there to miss the OB, because obviously it's a pocket where the basket is. If you come up short, you're less likely to go OB, but you give yourself a 35 to 40 foot putt, or you try to spike it in there. I mean, if you can spike it in near the basket or around there, odds are you're going to hit that putt if you're of that caliber, but you also risk that OB a lot tighter. So he obviously played it short, or it didn't play it short, but it ended up short, and then he could not squeeze out another miraculous putt. He kind of airballed it and didn't give it a great effort for the putt. It just didn't seem like he didn't put enough into it, I felt.
Yeah. I mean, for me as a fan, it was a heartbreak. It was a heartbreaking finish, watching him do that on hole 18, essentially 2 days in a row, kind of, we'll say easy shots. That tee shot is, it's pretty easy, but even easier than that was his upshot during that final round. But
yeah, but I mean, I wanted to see a 3-person playoff, but instead we got a 2-person playoff, both from the second card, which we never ever see winners from the second card recently. There's only been a handful of them. I think you just said 2 of them in the past couple of years since the Pro Tour started, and now we knew someone from the second card was going to win this event.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was inevitable at that point. Not how many. Before we get into that, how many playoffs have there been on the MPO side of the Disc Golf Pro Tour? I can think back to MJ and Bradley Williams at the Vibram Open. I was on the call for that with Terry, and then up in Minnesota, we had
the epic playoff between Sexton and Ricky.
Yeah, that was a good one. But those are the only 2 that aside from Waco that come to mind. Which we saw Big Germ win 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row there. But I think that's four playoffs prior to this weekend that I can think of, and they're all pretty good playoffs. We had the Chipmunk Gate at the Vibram Open with Bradley and Michael Joe, and then we saw Big Germ hold off James Conrad and Nate Perkins 2 years back to back at Waco. So those were fun. And then what was the other one? The fourth? Majestic. Yeah, and that was
went like 100 holes.
Yeah, that was pretty epic. But this year, it was a short playoff. Eagle had the box. The play on this hole, it's a pretty tough birdie. It's a par 3 hole. I think 450, 455, very low ceiling, but it's like a gauntlet. You can see from tee to basket. You can see the basket. And it's right there. But the hard part is having enough power to throw the air shot and get it there, because the ceiling is so low. So you see most often players go with the roller on that hole. And
one of the things I don't like, and I know they do it for a reason, I don't love about that hole now, is that they put they put the wall behind it. So if you do throw a roller and throw it hard, it'll hit the wall behind it, as opposed to going out of bounds. You can go out of bounds off to the right, I believe, but I believe there's a wall because Eagle hit it on the on his approach. It takes away a little bit of the danger of the roller to me.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that being the case. I saw in the little bit of coverage that I did watch, I caught a few discs hitting that and staying in bounds. But unfortunately for Eagle, his roller during the playoff didn't make it to the wall. So the wall doesn't line the whole fairway. So it's not that super safe play, just throwing the roller and
yeah, he clipped that tree and just went straight left.
Yeah, it was wasn't the best roller that we saw from him. So Drew went ahead and audibled, and probably I'm assuming he probably went with his signature leopard 3. I could be wrong, but he went with the air shot and just playing it for the 3, figuring that Eagle is going to have to throw it in from upwards to 150, maybe 175 feet, give or take. And Eagle definitely tried to throw it in, and went pretty hot. Found himself outside circle 1, and then so Drew just had a really easy, wide open shot to close the door and win the event. And Drew left it a little short.
Oh my God! I all I kept thinking was, no, not Drew Gibson. Like this. He throws his drive, obviously gets caught up in the trees and comes up short. No big deal, because he knows he's already got 1 stroke on Eagle. But then, and it wasn't a no-brainer approach, because he couldn't quite take a straight, like, easy hyzer at it. He had to go a little more straight and keep it low. But I'll say slightly burned it into the ground and came up 23, 24 feet short. And all I kept thinking is, like, if there's something Drew Gibson is not that great at, it's
Johnny,
this putt.
I'm starting to sweat right now just thinking about it,
because we've all seen Drew have putting issues. He will probably say it himself, like, it's the weakest part of his game. He's just got this weird, I say weird, it works for him, this kind of weird snap putt that he does that stays real low. It barely lifts when he putts. And all I kept thinking is, like, part of me was thinking, oh man, another playoff hole would be pretty awesome. Even though hole 2 is lame for a playoff hole. The Eagle's going to throw a forehand. Drew's going to throw some sort of probably backhand or something, and maybe a forehand. But 3 would have been really cool for a playoff hole.
Yeah.
And part of me is thinking, God, I hate playoffs. It's another chance for everything to go bad. Cruddy cell signal or a crashed computer at the worst time. So I was so conflicted as to whether or not I wanted to see Drew hit that, for my own selfish reasons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before Drew hit that, Eagle, calm, cool, and collected, but probably pretty angry on the inside, jammed a really, I mean, that was all 45 feet. I want to say, jam that putt and, put the pressure on Drew to actually make that little tester putt. And as you said, we've seen Drew miss those putts, and, but on Monday, it was in the cards for Drew. He dug deep, and, he drilled the putt, and, it was pretty awesome. He's only missed a couple Disc Golf Pro Tour events, and that was only due to injury. We've seen him ascend to that elite level, but not get that notch in the belt with the big victory. And he was sure able to do it there in Portland on Monday.
It was good to watch. It wasn't quite the Double G feel good story, because for a couple of reasons. One, Double G's been on the tour so much longer than Drew. And secondfold, Drew can be a divisive guy. He's not what you would call a typical PC, give him kind of a cliche answer kind of guy. He's a speak your mind kind of guy. And if you follow him on social media, on any of his social media, he has the occasional hot take. He has the occasional, I probably shouldn't have said that because I didn't think it through before I typed it, take. And he has some really funny, clever things that he puts out there. And I follow him on a lot of places because I get a kick out of him. But ultimately, he can be rough. We'll put it that way. Rough like your beard, Dana. That's how he can be. And So it was really good to see him win and get that one finally, get the monkey off his back, because it's been, I don't want to say so long. He's only been on the pro tour, or he's only been touring as a pro for like 6 years now. But but ultimately, it was nice to see a new winner. Like, this isn't the Paul show or the Ricky show that we thought it was going to be. It's not the Eagle show. We are seeing a diversity of winners that I don't recall seeing in a while. Now, it could just be a recency bias that someone's going to turn around and say, no, John, in 2015, we had seven different winners, and this year, I don't recall, but it feels like this year, out of any years, almost anybody can come up and win.
Yep, and that's what I was preaching at the beginning of the year, and then I believe aside from Calvin winning early for the most part, we were seeing all familiar faces, and we almost saw it again this weekend with Eagle. But Drew, shout out to him. Congratulations. Well, let's see what that does for Drew's career, what it does for his season. As I alluded to earlier, or not alluded to, as I mentioned earlier, he's coming off an injury. So this will be fun to watch and see if Drew can insert himself there on these lead cards or chase cards moving forward, and see if he can find himself back in the winner's circle.
And Drew, so going into Beaver State Fling, I believe he's had a pretty good history there at that particular event. I'm digging right now. It looks like last year he took 5th. 2017, he was. Did he play it? I wonder if he missed it. Yeah, he doesn't look like he played in 2017. And 2016, he took 9th. So he's been a pretty decent finisher at Beaver State for the last couple of years. You got to figure this gets him up into the talks of kind of one of those contenders, a top 5 guy.
Yeah. I mean, let's say the confidence has got to be riding high. But we're gonna see everybody at Beaver State Fling, and a lot of hungry players. So it's gonna be fun to watch. I know SmashBoxx is not gonna be there, so we'll be taking it in live through UDisc, and then watching the post production with you and Terry on the Disc Golf Guide channel. Are you guys covering? Where are you guys going to be? Are you going to be FPO or are you going to be?
We're going to do FPO 1. We'll be following the wonderful women around, getting some really great shots from them. I'm excited because I don't think I have. I was going to say, I don't think I've ever been part of a crew when we've covered FPO, but I did a couple of years ago when I was catch camera for Terry, and I showed how poor my camera skills were there too. So we'll see. So if you watch Terry's FPO1 footage and you notice there's only a few catch cam shots, you know why. You definitely know why. This guy is behind the computer and not behind a lens. But so I'm excited for Beaver State, and I think it's going to be a great event. I'm hoping we see a battle. I want to see a Page Cat and then a new person. I want to see someone that we don't expect up there really competing, like not that we don't expect her, but I want to see like Rebecca Cox come out and have like just a killer round and compete for that win. As much as I love to see Cat and Paige put up 990 rated rounds consistently as they've been doing, the storylines you can only talk about the Cat and Paige show so long before you run out of storylines. It's nice to inject a little bit of fresh blood once in a while. So that's let me see here. I'm going to pick an FPO player out of the blue, and we're going to find out who. Let's see. Let's go with I'm going to go with Rebecca Cox. She's 941. I want to see Rebecca Cox this week have her breakout event and get up there for a first or second at Beaver State. That's what I want to see.
All right. I can dig it. So you when we're talking about Beaver State Fling, this is one of the few events where we'll see on the national tour or a major or disc golf pro tour. This is one, I believe, event where we'll see the players play 36 holes
in one day.
In one day. So they'll play both courses out at Milo. It's a long day. It's going to be that's something they're not used to. It's not that they can't go out and play 36 holes, but occasionally we'll see some rain over there at Milo, or I've played in years where it's been in the 90s and very, very humid, and that comes into play. But for the most part, our players on tour these days don't play a whole lot of 2-round events if they're on tour.
And it's 2 different courses. It's, well, I guess, are they considered East and West? Is that or is it? Yeah, so it's it's East and West. So they're gonna play 36 unique holes of golf, and it's going to be fun to see to watch them. And they're all used to this. I mean, we've seen this for many years now. It's not like they're not expecting it, but it is going to be fun to watch them actually go through and see how that affects a little bit of stamina. And we're going to see who are, because those are long courses too. And if you just a little bit off the fairway,
it's not par 3 disc golf. It's not par 3. There's par 4s mixed in there, and long pro caliber par 3 holes. So I mean, it's a long day, but it's nothing new. Beaver State Fling has always been like that. Pro Worlds, we also doubled it up at Milo 2 days actually during the event. We played 2 rounds out there in a day. So it's gonna be fun to watch. It's a beautiful place, beautiful course, and I just want to put this out there for the FPO 1 card. We will not see more than 3 catch cam shots per round. So that's 18 holes. We will not see more than 3. That's my call. I'm setting it low, but I'm thinking back to I remember Marty McGee back in his heyday. He'd have his wife come out and do catch cam, and then you wouldn't see too many catch cam shots. She'd be out there. But
she was a wonderful woman. I got to talk with her quite a few times. She was a great person.
Yeah. Now, Johnny, I put you. I'm putting you at below. I think her skills are probably here, and you're probably right here.
I could take that. I'll work on that.
We'll see. Well, I'm giving you something to shoot for. So maybe head out to your your local league and maybe work on some catch cam footage. Get used to following some flights. And Johnny, do not get in the way. Don't get hit.
Nope. I'm gonna take the advice I give to our cameramen when they're kind of fresh and new when they catch cam. I just tell them, stay wide. Don't zoom in. Never zoom in. Don't push that zoom more than about a quarter second. That's as wide as I ever want you to zoom in. Stay wide. Don't lose the disc out of frame. You're not good enough to follow that disc in and zoom out at the same time. You're just going to lose it. So I think you're pretty spot on with 3 around if we're lucky.
All right. Well, we'll see it. It's going to be something to watch for.
And I don't, honestly, someone said out there, catch cam is the most important. It's very crucial. So get some practice. If there's one thing I've always said about Terry, I think he films and he's one of the few that does it. So I think he films the best single camera coverage in our sport. He is an underrated cameraman, hands down, for those of you that don't know. And I'll say that because he's not here, but so I have a little less pressure on me to know that there's a good chance Terry's getting some of these shots. I'm just going to have to worry about those blind holes. Like, okay, stand here, keep it wide, and hopefully the disc comes in. I think Terry said he bought us some walkie-talkies so he can tell me when some discs are coming in for a few of the blind shots. But we'll see. You never know.
All right. Well, hey, Good luck, Johnny. If you can sneak more than three catch cam shots per 18, I will be impressed.
Yeah,
Just like I was impressed with Ron the Whip, our smashy friend Dion
yes.
Arlyn. We can't not talk about him. Dion, we haven't seen him playing a whole lot over the last few years. He's been making humans and raising humans, but still playing disc golf, but just not on the tour.
Is there a smarter looking disc golfer than Dion? I mean, with
No.
the nice glasses and the nice clean cut beard, those black rim glasses, that there's not a smarter looking golfer. I mean, I'm not going to say he's the smartest golfer out there. He might be, but I'm not going to say that. But he's a smart looking golfer, and he can play pretty well too. I was so
good.
hoping to get him on some lead card, and I'm sure he was as well. But just what a consistent weekend from him in general for a guy that just doesn't tour. I mean,
Yeah.
he shot a 7, a 3, and an 8 in that second round. I mean, he just didn't pick up enough of the birdies on the front 9, and he tossed in an extra bogey that he probably didn't need. But ultimately, bravo to Dion.
Yeah, I mean, he's 10. You know, he is 10-17 rated, but this is a course that sets up really well for him, Blue Lake, and he's been playing quite a bit this year. He's got a few wins under the belt, most all top 5 finishes. Of course, aside from this weekend, but yeah, ultimately he came out firing pretty darn hot. Just darn near made the lead card with his 58, 10, 57, and then, as you said, second round wasn't that great, but then followed up with in the 50s, which isn't easy to do at Blue Lake, which was a 10-30 rated round. So pretty cool stuff to see. Someone like a Dion Arlyn, play well at the big event. He is an elite player that we don't see all that often. Speaking of elite players, James Proctor, we've seen a lot more of him over the last, I'd say, 4 years than we have of Dion. But James he's not playing a whole lot of big events this year, and it was nice to see him on the lead card. And then
he had a problem. He had an unfortunate problem with putting that that second round. He was hitting a lot of basket, like just off a little bit. He drained a big one, or a big one. He didn't hit the basket, I think, on his first or second hole, and then it just seemed like he was all over the bucket, not quite getting them in. And then, he was scrambling a bogey or two, and then finally on I think it was the 18th hole, he hit or it was 17th hole. He hit a pretty decent one, and either way, it was really good to have him on the lead card.
Absolutely, and it's good to see him, come back and play a solid final round to stay up there in the top 10. But yeah, a couple names that aren't on the tour. Good to see them top 10 or just outside the top 10 with Dion, aka Ron the Whip.
Yeah, I think Dion did some post-production stuff too. Maybe it was with Central Coast.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I watched the front 9 of the final round, Central Coast, which is with Nate Perkins on commentary. But did they have rotating guests?
I think they did. So Ian stole my idea. Terry, I've been telling Terry for a long time that he's got to get Dion on to do some post-production. But good for Central Coast and getting Dion on there. Yeah,
and it surprised me. Perkins didn't even know who Dion was. Admittedly, he said during that that commentary. But Nate Perkins, while his name is out there, he had himself a pretty solid weekend, finishing in 13th place. And we're seeing him all over those videos doing commentary. We've seen him numerous times with Jomez and Central Coast, also with gatekeeper, I believe, doing some pro tour stuff. So Nate Perkins, he's rounding out to be a really good disc golfer, and his commentary game is stepping up. But man, I think doing commentary with someone like Ian on Central Disc Golf makes it so much easier. Ian takes the lead role and knows how to navigate the commentary, and I think that makes his co-commentator, whether Dion Arlyn or Nate Perkins, do so much better and sound much better because he does lead very well.
Ian is a good co-host. I think he's very good bringing out the strengths in his co-hosts and leading them. Very similar to what I think Terry does with some people, but without the bad jokes like that Terry likes to throw in.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Terry, it was good to hear him back in the box, the SmashBoxx live commentary. He was live with Val Jenkins in the mornings and afternoons with MPO. Him and Nate Doss teamed back up together. I think both, Terry, as you said, Terry's very good at bringing out the best in everyone, and having that experienced commentator can go a long way, and I feel like it did here this weekend at Blue Lake.
I agree. If there's one of the major complaints that we've heard of Nate and Val is they both kind of want to be what some people consider color commentary and more description and less play-by-play, but that they as all new commentators do, especially when you're on for 2 4-hour rounds, you tend to fill the air like it's a podcast, and you don't have to. So Terry is very good at setting a pace. He can sit there and not ask a question and let it breathe a little bit. And so having him in there helps. It helps push some of the chatter down a little bit, and that's good. And Terry is very good at that. I can't imagine working with another person that can do anything as well as him in the booth. Plus he's knowledgeable about all the other behind the scenes crap that needs to happen. But it was good to have him in there for a number of reasons. But it was good to get him with Val, and it was good to get him with Nate. And both teams, I thought, worked very well together.
Absolutely. I hope Terry's not listening. I know he's not going to listen later on, but I'm sure he'd be on the chat board if he was on. But you're hearing us talk nice about him, so let's stop that. Boy, was there anything else you wanted to touch on? I know
there was an incident.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been on social media, and you're hiding under a rock, and you don't watch live, and maybe this is the first time you're catching wind of this, there was a very slight incident with one of our cameramen and one of the players during the second round. Adam Hammis put his hands on one of our cameras, and Terry did not take nicely to that. So the scenario is they come up to hole 13, which has a very tight teeing area. Our throw camera guy, I was releasing him early from putouts. We were using our reaction cam to get putouts. With all the people, he was going to the tee and getting a decent position, so he had a good angle and didn't have to fight the crowds. So he gets to hole 13 while the other guys are putting out and kind of posts where he's going to be, which is back right of the tee box. All the players come up. Some of the players drop their bags behind him, and there's some bushes just a little further behind our cameraman, and then there's a little bit of space off to the left where I think Jomez was from the tee, and there's the tee box. And a couple guys come up, and then Adam Hammis comes up, throws a forehand directly OB into the bush. Looks at his finger and kind of rubs it like this. Turns around and starts walking back towards our cameraman, which is only a couple steps. And I know Adam. because he's from Wisconsin. I've seen him. I've never actually played around with him. He's been a good pro only a few years since we've been doing media, so I've never had a chance to play an open round with him. But I do know he can be a hothead. It's not a surprise. It's not a shock. Everyone in the state knows that he can get a little emotional at times and be frustrated. He's a very much a wear your emotions on your sleeve kind of guy. So I know this and tell the cameraman, stay on him. Stay on him. So our cameraman, who's positioned, kind of follows him sideways. And then as he turns around, what our cameraman didn't know was that Adam was posted up basically right behind the cameraman. So as Adam swung around, he ended up coming face to face with Adam. It was very close. It was an arm's length because Adam actually had to reach out like this and kind of like push the camera. So I would say 24 inches away, 2 feet, let's say, about what his arm length was. And so as the camera comes, Adam doesn't want to be on camera because he just threw a poor shot. So he kind of just pushes the camera. The camera immediately slides back into position to get the next couple shots. I kind of chuckle. I'm like, did he just hit our camera? And we're all talking behind the scenes. And the cameraman isn't saying anything because he's still on the tee box. And Terry is kind of like, no. And I said, I think he did. I think he kind of hit the camera a little bit. Like, not hard, but just kind of pushed it. And at that point, Terry knows Adam's history. Terry knows, has had interactions with Adam in the past. Not bad ones particularly, but has seen some of these things. And Terry's like, that's our equipment. That's you don't touch that stuff. We don't touch the players. Players shouldn't touch us. That's how it works. And so Terry kind of took it to a like what if level. And he got a little bit heated on the broadcast, and rightfully so, some might say, and whatever. I was still trying to figure out, because someone had said, no, he didn't touch the camera. The camera just happened to turn back towards the thing at that point. And so I clarified with our cameraman. I said, camera one, did Adam push your camera? And camera one said, yes, most definitely. I'm like, okay, just so I know it's clear, because I was just going to actually message Adam privately and say, hey, dude, I understand you're frustrated, but let's keep it a professional, And then after the round, Adam makes a post on social media about how he felt disrespected and that there was apparently some chatter back and forth that I didn't even know about after the incident happened. Basically, Adam saying that the cameraman told him how he was blowing up on SmashBoxx. And I've heard a couple different versions of how this story goes. My guess is that everybody has a perspective and nobody really knows. But in talking to the cameraman, Adam apparently overheard our cameraman talking about it and this is what I've heard, asked the cameraman, what are you guys talking about? And that's when the cameraman said, oh, you're blowing up on SmashBoxx because of the little thing. And ultimately the chat, it was mostly jokes and memes and, Adam's going to tackle the cameraman or, all these other funny things. It wasn't, for the most part, very serious.
Mm-hmm.
But then, from what I understand, Adam takes this personally, pulls out his phone and starts looking. And at this point now, Adam's head is completely out of the game. Like, he's not thinking about his golf anymore. He shoots poorly for a couple holes. You can see it on the scorecard. He is distracted. Now, that is one side of the story. The other side of the story is that the cameraman said that without provocation. And I don't know what's true. I truly don't. I have no idea. It seems weird to me that the cameraman would say that without being asked. But I don't know because I'm not there. And I didn't hear anything on our comms because all the cameramen are muted because they just need to listen to me. I don't need to listen to them for the most part unless I ask them a question. So, according to Simon, who was also on the card, all during the first half of the round, Adam and this cameraman who know each other, our cameramen are golfers usually. So It's not like we're these random guys. They're golfers. They know these players. They interact with them all the time, whether it's on the course or off the course or after rounds, hanging out and having dinner. That him and the cameraman were chatting back and forth during the round. So I don't know if it was playful, if it was friendly, haha, if it was just chat, I don't know. But apparently there was interaction during the round, which there is very frequently with cameramen. If you watch the post-production guys, our live guys, as we've always said, it kind of have to be on point for 3 straight hours or 4 straight hours, because you never know when we're coming back out of a commercial. The post-production guys have the luxury of kind of standing down, chit-chatting, joking it up with the players. There's no boundaries there. Whether there should be or not, it's a whole nother discussion, but there isn't. So it wouldn't surprise me to hear that our cameraman was talking to Adam at all. So I don't know where the truth lies. My guess is somewhere in between, as is almost every story. But either way, Adam posted it to social media. There was a big uproar about whether Adam was in the right, whether our cameraman was right in his face. There were some people that didn't even see it, that took like, oh my God, did he chase him down? Like, no, he just turned. It was a lot of nothing that blew up to be kind of something that shouldn't have been, I feel. But everybody ended up, I'll be the dad in this. Everybody learned their lesson. There was some good discussions behind the scenes amongst the cameramen and myself and Steve and with Adam. I know Terry talked to Adam, and Adam took down the post, and kind of their cooler heads prevailed, but it brought up a bigger discussion on social media.
Yeah. That sounds pretty accurate. I not being there and not talking to anyone that was there about this incident, only taking it in live, and I actually tuned in right after it happened. So I caught Terry's reaction, and then caught Adam's Facebook post that was ultimately deleted, but then shared by World. Yeah, I don't know what happened. They could have been joking manner. If it wasn't, that's probably not a good thing. And then also, if the cameraman ultimately was talking about that or saying things to Adam afterwards, I think that's probably not probably. That's there's got to be a little bit of a line there.
Of course, and if
they are friends, and I'm just talking in general, because I don't know the facts or anything, but if that was the case, the cameraman probably shouldn't have done that. Adam probably shouldn't have done what he did. But it's social media. This is
everything has to be bigger than it really is.
It's drama, and then Murder Mike gets in on it, and it just stokes the flames even more, and then the World, kind of having that eye-catching image with their article, of Adam's deleted Facebook post, which tells his side of the story that but yeah, interesting stuff. Fun podcast stuff, I guess.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun podcast stuff. And as I've told people, I've said, you know what? It's my job to make sure we see every emotion out on that course. Like, I'm not going to chase a player down, but if you're within camera view, I'm putting a camera on you. Now, for future reference, what probably should have happened was, if the cameraman swung around, and again, he didn't know Adam was going to be right behind him, so when he swung around and he ended up face-to-face with him, that's an unfortunate situation right there. Adam probably should have just put his hand up. Put it in front of the lens. That's fine. We get the point. We'll turn around. I get that. Or just walk away, because we're not going to follow you. That's kind of a rule I have. I'm not chasing someone down. Like, you saw Kat when she putted out her last putt. She literally ran from the green. And I'm not going to follow her on that. We didn't follow Eagle after his, he putted out that final putt. There was talks about getting a camera on him while Simon was coming in. And we kind of said, hey, if he's at Tournament Central, I've got no problem putting a camera on him to watch him watch Simon come in. If he's not, I'm not going to try to find him. If someone's walking away from us, we're not going to follow them. That's just, to me, that's asking for problems. But
yeah,
when Eagle misses a putt and falls down, when Simon misses a putt and pretends to fall down, or we've seen players when they miss putts, they fold their putter in half. We've seen all that. We've seen people punch trees on camera. We've seen good things. We've seen
some of my favorites are the Nico versus Terry.
Yeah.
Their interactions, and Terry just running the camera, and Nico being Nico.
And that's one of the things that it's one of the things I like about our live stuff, is that we show it all, good and bad. If you watch the Central Coast video of Eagle's missed putt, they cut after Eagle does his backward somersault. They don't show him, as I keep jokingly calling it, atomic elbowing his putter.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a stylistic choice, whether you want to show something like that or not. And I don't blame Ian for not doing it. I'm just saying that is a style that they've chosen to do. And if that's what you want, great. You can. We've seen a lot of the post-production teams usually show high fives and fist pumps, but I feel like one of the spots where they're maybe missing out is showing some of that anger, frustration, depression, I'll say, even though I'll say more of a sadness, when the players don't succeed. And
yeah,
that's
thinking back to years past. I know there's been issues with players with swearing, and do you edit it out or do you not edit it out? What I think I could be wrong, but I feel this came up a few years back, maybe 3-4 years ago, with swearing and whether or not to edit it out. And I don't know if the PDGA got involved. Can you recall that?
I believe the PDGA wants you to bleep it out, or not necessarily beep it out, or just get rid of it. I think that's their official stance, is that they don't want that out there, and I understand that. It's kind of a pain. It's kind of a pain in the butt, because that means you might, as an editor, you might not necessarily hear that when you're dropping in clips, and you're like, here's the start, here's the finish, here's the start. You don't necessarily always listen to the whole thing through and through. If you happen to know it, that's great. I know Terry has done it in the past, and there's times Terry hasn't done it, depending on the situation and what's going on. I mean, there's also a talk of, well, the cameramen should not interact with the players. And I kind of agree. Like I said, Adam should have held his hand up, and if Adam heard us talking on our internal chat and he came up to our cameraman should have just said, "Don't worry about it, dude, go play." Like, period.
Yeah.
But I don't know the relationship between Adam and the cameraman. Like, that's that's beyond me. But we've seen our players for years now. I want to say starting, but not starting. But Germ used to all the time just walk up to our cameras live and chat with us at backups and stuff. I specifically remember a memorial, I think it was hole 7, where that big backup always is, him just coming up and having an impromptu interview with Terry while Terry was on the course. And these guys, most of these cameramen travel with the tour. So you see, like I said, you see them all the time. They're friends. They're, Simon, when he missed that putt during the, I think it was during the second day, maybe. I don't think it was the third day. But when he fell down, he stood up at one point. No, I think it's when he hit a putt on 18. He goes over and gives Jerry from Jomez a high five, walks right over to Corey, and gives like an impromptu interview on 18 while players are still on the green. And like, he's just sitting there talking with Corey, who was there. And it's like, it's hard to tell the cameraman, hey, you need to not interact with the players, when sometimes the players come up to us. And it is such a small pond that we play in, that we're all friends, that it can make lines a little blurry at times. And I would quote unquote love it if if the lines were cleaner, if there was more of a distinction between staff, player. But we're just not there. We just don't do it. We are so close to them right now until we get to the point where we can erect stands and put cameras on them every 3 or 4 holes, and we're further away from the players, and we don't need to be right on them. It's hopefully something like this doesn't happen again, and I don't foresee it, because the situation like this is very unique in the environment and the player and the cameraman and their relationship and whatnot. So this is a unique situation that I don't think we're going to see again. At least I hope not. But
will we ever see a Dennis Rodman style?
God, I hope not, because I don't want to have to deal with that. But it just takes one hothead. I mean, I was thinking about this too, and I keep bringing it up, like Eagle's final putt. What if our cameraman was in a different position? Like, what if he was slightly behind him instead of to the side? And Eagle turned around without knowing where our cameraman was, and kind of got in the, like, walked into the cameraman. Not mean or not forceful, but I was just thinking, Eagle maybe didn't know our player was a cameraman was behind him, or just the way it went down. There are so many situations, and usually our guys are off the green. That's kind of the standard. We try to stay out of the circle, just because we don't want to accidentally hit a rolling disc, or especially if there's a wall, we'll try to stand on the opposite side of the wall. That is the safe thing.
Yeah.
But with the way some players move, and we've seen before where our guy will stand on one side of the tee because James Conrad is going to take his 12-step run up from the other side, and then suddenly Simon decides he doesn't want to take the big hyzer. He wants to go the big Annie. So they move over to where we are, and we have to shuffle. Players always have the right to move our cameramen, or any cameraman, for any reason, no matter where they are. If they're behind them 10 feet, if they're behind them 2 feet, which hopefully they're not that close, if they're on the other side of the basket. We see Jonathan with his slow-mo cam on the opposite side of the basket all the time. They get those great slow-mez videos. But if for some reason a player just doesn't like it, they can always say, can you just, shuffle to the side for me, please? And 100% of the time, we're going to say, yeah, whatever you say. We're here to record the action, but we want the best angles, but we also want the best play, and that goes hand in hand. So we need to accommodate the players. When all those players walked up on 13 and our cameraman was there, if they didn't want him there, if they felt he was too close, all they had to do was say, can you take a couple steps back, or can you move over here? We would have. And no one did, because we were posted there every single day. It just so happened that was an unfortunate circumstance on how everything just kind of worked into each other. And
yeah, and the reaction cam it's become a staple.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, with the lot, it's great. It's fun to, watch those views and those reactions and all that. So, I mean, it just sounds like it was a perfect storm of a tight teen area, and Adam having a poor tee shot and being upset about that, and maybe being friends. So just the perfect storm and a small pond, as you said.
And it's funny that situation, because normally we do have a separate reaction camera, but because that teeing area is so small, there's not a really good place to put a reaction camera in front of the players to get back. So we had sent him down to the green, because that was a backup area. And so there were people down there putting, I believe. And so I wanted to have more shots of more players to go to. So we didn't have a camera to shoot back. So that's why I told our cameraman, follow him. Just get a reaction. And we got a reaction. And
so basically you're to blame.
Yes, I've said this online. I said, the cameramen follow me. They follow my direction. Now, there are times that they will do what they feel is the right move. If they think, oh, hey, maybe Johnny doesn't see this, I'm going to stick with this player because they're frustrated, or they're joking, or they're playing hacky sack, and they get kind of things like that. But it was flat out my direction. I tell usually the cameraman, stick with him, stay on him, or stay on her, follow her. and when I say follower, I mean just with the camera, not necessarily on your feet. But yeah, I'm the one that directs everything. So if there is ultimately someone to blame, it's this guy right here. I'll do it every time because I want that emotion.
Absolutely.
I want to see it, and everybody else wants to see it.
Part of the live.
It's part of the live. It's and without sounding self-serving, I don't know if I said this or not. This is the event you want to watch live. This particular round. Don't watch the post-production. I did say this earlier. Watch the live final round because it's so much better to have it in real time than to pick. Well, do I watch lead card first? Do I watch chase card first? If you don't know, if you really are spoiler free, and you think, well, I'm going to watch the Jomez card first because I want to see the winner. You're going to get, I don't know how they handled it, but you're going to get to the end of that and go, oh crap. Like, odds are they've spoiled at least that there was a playoff or that Simon was chasing. Because if they don't talk about why Simon's doing what he's doing, you're doing a disservice to the post-production. Like,
yeah.
And so at best, oh, great, there's a tie, which means now you get to the chase card and you're watching, you're thinking, okay, I already know that there's a tie with Eagle and Drew. You get to that last hole and watching Eagle miss that, it takes all the energy out of it because he's going to miss it when they come up with a tie. But if you watch the chase card first, there's no point in watching the lead card then because you know the winner already and you know that what happened with Simon. So I already watched the chase cards, most of it, at least the last 5 holes of Central Coast stuff. It was really good. I really like what Central Coast is doing right now. They're doing really great stuff.
Absolutely. I watched I researched before we started the show. I watched the front 9. I'm not going to be able to watch the back 9 till tomorrow or the next day, but I am looking forward to that. And I do want to watch the Jomez coverage once that's up as well, too, just to see, because Nate Sexton, he was in the mix. It was great to see him at a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, in his home state, and Jomez was there, so Nate decided to play. He was in contention for it in that final round on the lead card before I think he took a double bogey. Yeah, he took a bogey on 11 and then a par, and it just wasn't enough. He needed to be perfect from there out, and he wasn't. Ended over the last, I think, 5 or 6 holes, he had a par and a bogey. But it was great to see him in the mix, and just so many people. It was a fun weekend,
So
and then
exciting.
you throw in the little extra, drama, so to speak, and it was fun times as a disc golf fan, and I hope to get back out to Portland, whether it's for the Portland Open or the Beaver State Fling sooner than later, because definitely worthy events to go to and play in or watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. Those are some pretty courses out there. And if Disc Golf Nerd, if he's out there still, he says he's going to take me to some other course in the Portland area, and I'm going to whoop up on him. So I'm not even going to bring any discs. I'm just going to take his discs and beat him with his own discs.
Well, he's got plenty of discs. We know that. He's talking about Morning's Hideout, which is, depending on traffic, maybe 45 minutes an hour outside of Portland. But beautiful place. They have music festivals there. There's 3 courses on site, a big championship style one, and then par 3 one, and another 2 par 3 ones, but more of a very recreational style, but very, very fun disc golf.
Cool.
Make sure you get with him, whether it's around out there or elsewhere. It's always fun to meet Smashies. But with that, my computer is about to die. I do not have the charger. Hadn't anticipated on being on this long, but I definitely enjoyed it, Johnny. It was fun going over these events and talking the Portland Open excitement, drama, and otherwise.
You and I should do this more often without, Mr. Chatty Mouth here,
What's his name? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the guy that sits in this chair.
Now, did I, I'll leave you guys with this. So, as I mentioned, I was in Denver, or I was in Colorado last week, and on Thursday night, I had a late flight out of Denver that was thankfully delayed because I would have missed it. And I'm hurriedly walking down the aisle, trying to get to my gate. And I look up, and none other than Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. We literally ran into each other. Me hustling to my gate, him working his way to during his layover on his way to Portland. But it's pretty fun coincidence there to run into Terry, and small world, kind of wild. But it's good to see him for a second here, and I wonder who he's running into now on his way home.
You never
Anyone who's
know.
excited?
You never know.
Excited? Cool as me? Probably not.
No, definitely not. I think he gets in at like 1 a.m. tonight, or technically tomorrow morning, but that or maybe midnight. I think he's very close to the morning. So I could be wrong, and he could just be swinging by the place here any minute now, for all I know. But I highly doubt it.
That'll extend the show for sure. But I'm gonna leave it with that. Thank you to Terry. Wherever he is up in the sky, Johnny V. It's good to see you and chat disc golf. All the Smashies out there, including Chris Young. I will see you at the Bro this summer. And yeah, thank you guys for accepting Beardless Dana. We'll hopefully see you next week.
We know it'll grow back. All right, have a good night, Dana. We'll see you next week.
All right, see ya.
All right, that was Dana Mitovicci, one of our favorite contributors. What a great guy. Dion was on the board chatting about with a lot of people, saying that he can join us tonight possibly. So maybe we'll get a little Dion and get his perspective on how the Portland, Oregon course played for him. And spoiler alert, it played pretty well. As we said, he shot 18 under for the weekend. Only 9 strokes off the lead. Oh, Terry's here. He's stuck. Terry is on the board. So, hi, Terry. Someone says, JVD, can you go full frame? I don't really have a shot set up for that. I don't know if I truly can. I could probably set one up at some point, but we're an audio podcast. Nobody sees this empty booth. So, Terry says, let me get his Skype fired up. Yeah, we could do that. I guess we could have Terry on. Terry's one of my favorite guests to have on the show. He always brings a little something to the show and gives us good inside the disc golf community. Just cut half out. Anyway, what else do we have we need to talk about? We covered the whole Adam thing, and we covered Eagles' little display, which, to be clear, I'm fine with. Players get frustrated and emotional, and I've got no problem with them displaying that emotion as long as it does not interfere, distract, or affect the rest of their group. So I think even Eagle, if you look back on it, would say, yes, it looked a little childish, but in the moment, you don't think about that. And maybe he will next time after seeing what everybody else saw. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll continue to wear his emotions out on his sleeve like some of our other players. And as I was telling Dana about Adam, I know Adam, and I know a lot of these players. You know who's going to give us good reactions and who's not. Chris Dickerson is not going to give you a reaction if he misses a 10-foot putt or a 15-foot putt, or even, I think, if he lost in a playoff. The guy is just cool, calm, and collected. Paul, Macbeth, Ricky Wysocki, they get a little snippy. They'll swipe a disc off the ground. That's Ricky's move. Paul, for the most part, is pretty calm. He has his little moments as well. But you get someone like Nico, who can be very hot. Simon gets silly, which is always fun to watch. Trying to think. You don't really see anything out of Conrad. We saw him shooting poorly a couple weeks ago when he was live, and he's just cool at the GBO, and he was cool and calm. Kevin Jones is a happy-go-lucky guy, so you kind of learn the players and you learn who is going to give you good reactions to these things, and those are the players that you stick with. Just kind of the way it works. Madison is usually pretty emotional. She'll tend to show what's happening on the course. Kat lately, not as much. As you could see at the end of her round when she putted out and then kind of ran off the course. She doesn't want that to be on camera. Yes, Disclaimer says Paul has been known to attack his plastic. I have seen a few bent discs in my day, and you know what? Again, it's kind of like Eagles thing. I'm okay with that. Like, you want to not distract the rest of your card and just kind of take your frustrations out on your plastic. Make it happen. What else do we have? Where's Terry? Terry said he was going to call. Oh, probably I don't have Skype up. I should probably open up Skype so he can call me at some point. That would be a good thing to do. Skype. Every time I open Skype, it has to update. It's at version 8.45. It doesn't even give me an option. It just tells me I'm going to update and I'm going to run. Oh, yeah, let's talk about Yuli real quick. We'll talk about that with Terry a little bit more. But Yuli apparently has a knee issue. Somewhere someone had said, I think an MCL or maybe a meniscus tear or strain. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if that's a prior injury that he is now dealing with, but there is that. So he ended up having to withdraw from the event, and I hope that he heals up and gets better. It might be a few weeks before we see him again, depending on how bad the injury is, and we're hoping for nothing but the best for Yuli. But if he is out an extended period of time, he's got a home here at SmashBox. He can come and be part of the games and fun. Ryan Pilcher says it'd be funny if someone just walked to the crowd, gave away the disc, and said, "Please throw this into the lake right now." Yeah, that would be funny. I would rather see these players, rather than folding their discs or getting upset and throwing them, I would rather see them like hand the disc off to somebody and then just give it to a fan. Just be like, "Hey, here's my disc. I don't want it anymore." Kind of like what Simon did with his bag. That is that's something I'd rather see. Terry, can you hear me? All right, hold on one second. We are going to have my second favorite guest of the night on. It is Terry, the disc golf guy Miller. Here we go, Terry. Terry Miller, welcome to Smashbox.
Oh, hey, will you get my damn name updated already? Like on the lower third there? Come on.
Oh, I could go.
All right. So quickly sorry, that's way up in everyone's grill. Quickly want to say hi to everybody. How we doing?
I think
Quite
everyone.
the contrast.
I know that it's actually a pretty saturated picture. It looks nice.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if that was a setting. I set up a new account.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Are you in the Denver airport? Where are you?
I'm in Denver. What?
One of your favorite airports because the internet speed is always so good.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm debating. I don't know. How's my volume? My audio?
Sounds good.
Because I was thinking about going with a headphone jack here.
What? I'm cool with it, but.
Well, let's try this here just for a sec.
Okay, sounds good. Let's ruin what's working.
Yeah. Sounds like
a Smashbox way to go.
Does that work?
Yeah, I hear you still, yeah.
Well, then I guess that works. Well, even better.
Right.
Perfect.
Cool. I'm getting the Yuli shake. This is great.
Well, now it should be fine. I'm
just
gonna have to
teasing.
prop this up somewhere instead of holding it because I'm not all about holding it. But anyway, just want to say hi. How's everyone doing? It looks like I am officially in Denver for 22 more hours.
Are you kidding me? You can't get out till tomorrow night?
Yeah, so there was a little hubbub about there's a major storm that's in Chicago area, which for those doing the geography, Chicago is just 2 hours. Oh, that's not going to be any better. Chicago is just 2 hours from Milwaukee, or hour and a half, depending on where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And their flight was canceled to Midway, which is an airport I actually fly to occasionally as well.
Terry put us on hold. Oh, there. That's okay. Yeah, we're good.
They canceled it, and then there was this huge influx of people that came running over and all sorts of yelling and screaming and whatever. And I mean, I have to admit, I was offered a voucher of sorts. I think before I knew all the details, but I was in fact offered a voucher, and you know, I guess it's not the worst thing because all I need to do is edit for the next day and a half anyway. So whether I edit in the Denver airport or in a nearby hotel or house, or I edit back in Milwaukee area, I guess there could be worse things. So I think there's other people that had a lot more pressing issues to get to Milwaukee or Chicago for. So here we are.
Well, I'm. Are you going to spend the night at the at the airport, or are you going to a hotel?
The fact that I'm not scheduled to go out until 7 p.m. tomorrow makes me think that I'm going to go see if I can find a hotel. If I were to go out super early in the morning, being 10 o'clock already, I would probably just rough it here. But I think I'm going to go look for a hotel.
Okay.
And then again, I'm just going to set up and edit. I've got some bonus footage that some people don't even realize I have from the last few weeks. I also have the Minnesota Amateur Championships from last weekend. I got that started on the plane earlier tonight. So that's going to be the plan. And then I may, because I am A-list with Southwest, I might be able to actually go standby tomorrow, maybe even get back earlier. So
okay,
whatever. We're gonna try and strategize the best that I can. It feels so weird not seeing the comments. I really hate this. I know that sounds silly.
Well,
wonder if I do that.
Don't worry. They're all positive.
Well, yeah.
Terry.
No, even if they're not, that's fine. It's so weird just not being able to see them.
Well, you just switched. You just switched it, so now you're sideways.
Oh, perfect. How about is that? Oh wait, is that still? Does that fix it?
That fixes it, and now we're we're portrait, so we're okay.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to deal with that.
That's fine.
Anyway, so that is exactly where things are at for me at the moment. Yeah, and I figured I'd just check in quickly to see what was going on here tonight.
How long have you been watching or listening? What did you?
Not at all.
Okay.
I just logged in. There's been so much chaos going on with the flights and the switching. By my accounts, I did a couple good deeds tonight, but one very specific one. A woman had walked up to the gate and she's like, "I've never flown before. I don't really know what happens. What goes on here?" And and I said, she goes, "I just became a grandma." And I'm like, wow, for starters, that's pretty impressive. She doesn't look like she's grandmother age. And second of all, I'm like, well, here, you're in, C12, you're going to go last, blah, blah, blah. She was flying to Tucson. And she's like, well, I have time for a drink then. Like, okay, I guess if you need one. So she goes to the bar right next to the gate. And she goes to the bar and she's hanging out in there. I watched the Tucson flight, like, get ready. They go through the A's, they're going through the B's, they're going through the C's. And then I'm dealing with my stuff. And then all of a sudden I hear like last call for Tucson. And I turn and look and the woman is at the bar yet. And I'm like, no, no. So I had to leave my thing. I ran over to her and I just said, "No, you need to get on the plane." She's like, "No, I think I heard him just say they're boarding." I said, "No, you're going to miss your plane." So then she had to pay her bill. I ran over to the gate agent and I'm like, "No, there's one more woman coming." And they held things up so that she could get on the plane. It was just silliness. So there's one of my good deeds for the night, I guess.
Oh, way to go, Miller.
Helping this grandmother get on her plane so she can go to Tucson and see her brand new grandchild. So, what did I miss? Anything worthwhile? Probably not.
Not too much. I mean, we had Dana on for the first hour and a half, or almost 2 hours, talking about a couple of the events. We obviously talked about Portland, discussed the Adam issue. We talked a little bit about Eagle.
Adam issue?
Yeah, that little thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, that thing. Yep.
I think we've pretty much covered it all.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Other than that, do you have anything pressing? How was it being back in the booth this week with the Dosses?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about how much fun it was. It just was great. And, and I had said to them that, of course, I miss, the idea. It was so great being with Robert earlier, a few weeks ago for the Glass Blown Open. But I had really missed doing it and then having the chance to do it with both of them. But more so, I had said to them, like, hey, guys, whether you really are looking for it or not, like, maybe it'll just be a little bit of a break. Like, of course, they're married to each other. They're like the cutest, couple on the planet. But like to go sit in a booth with your significant other like that and talk for 8 hours a day. And then, that's literally just a few feet from the rest of their house. It's just basically their spare bedroom in their house. Like that's a lot of together time, and they're already working together. They've already started a brewery together. And I just said, well, hey, hopefully this will break things up. And to be fair, I think when they originally were talking about signing on for this, I feel as if they thought that there would be a co-host with each of them, so they wouldn't be each other's co-host. Mm-hmm. And that hasn't, come to fruition. So this is exactly how it was originally set up, not necessarily with me, but this was how it was originally set up. And so it was just a lot of fun because getting Val's point of view, having her, of course, commentate on the women's side is great. And I don't know who's more qualified. She's a 4-time world champion and, has been there, done that with literally everything. And then to stand down for a couple hours and then, get in the booth with Nate, all the same could be said of him, and the fact that they've toured, it's one thing that they're just obviously great professionals, but the fact that they were touring and on the road as much as any of the other road warriors throughout the last decade or so, I just feel like it's, they're just so qualified. And, but at the same time, I think they enjoyed also getting a break. And even though they didn't look at it that way as much, they both needed to work. Like, well, one was
selling beer,
Yeah, I mean, they were, and socializing and catching up with people. They both said it was great to talk to all these people that they've been missing, off from the tour for the last year. So it was just great. And a lot of fun. And I think it changed up the dynamic just a little bit and maybe, not quite hitting the reset button, but I feel like hopefully that hits the refresh button, a little F5 on the weekend, for all you techies out there. So,
yeah.
And to answer you, Jason, who I see just said, why didn't Val take Nate's last name? She did. And for some I'm sure wondered about that. She is Valerie Doss legally. Sorry if I just moved that. She's Valerie Doss legally, but she still goes by Val Jenkins. That's her golf name. She signs discs. She has signature series discs that way. That's how she won all of her world titles. But when she signs legal documentation, she signs it as Valerie Doss. So for whatever that's worth for people out there. Who else does that? I'm sure there's other
In our community or just in general? Oh yeah, celebrities. I'm sure there's
celebrities. Megan Mullooly and her husband Nick Offerman. Thank you. So it's funny to think of those two immediately with Nate and Val, but
yeah,
perfect. They are the absolute perfect example of exactly Nate and Val.
Sure, I'm sure there's tons of women that you don't even realize that get married and that are famous that keep their celebrity name but legally have a different name. I guarantee it.
Yeah, exactly. So, so anyway, just to answer that question, I guess it's funny. It wasn't really like brought up this weekend per se, but I'm sure a lot of people ask, and I'm sure a lot of people are like, why are you saying her name wrong? She's Valerie Doss. Well, again,
go with that.
I think it's all about the context of it all. So, I think I answered your question about, as to what it was about being in the booth. It was great. They were great, and it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the year unfolds. If I could possibly be in like a sideline reporter role or someone you just throw out to in the field occasionally, or maybe I do some pre-round or post-round interviews out on the course as opposed to, trying to throw it to whomever the TD is. Although obviously I think Zoe and Jeff Spring did a great job out there this weekend, but we can't necessarily anticipate that the TD is always going to be ready and available to do that in that situation. And so those are the types of things that you might see me doing at, some of the future events as we roll throughout.
What's our next Pro Tour event? Is that Idlewild?
No, next Pro Tour event in 3 weeks is Ledgestone.
Okay.
And I'm even going to have kind of a unique role there too. Initially at the beginning of the year, when Smashbox was not the preferred best live coverage option on the planet, or wasn't contracted to be such, Nate Heinold had reached out to me and said, well, if you guys aren't doing live this year, I would love to have you at the event doing some other stuff. So maybe some social media things and some behind the scenes, some camera stuff, some video and interview type stuff. And he basically contracted me right there on the spot to fill that role and to come in and do that. And I jumped at the opportunity because it sounded like a mixture of things. And so even when Smashbox renegotiated to come back and to be the live, provider for the Pro Tour this year, I was very clear, and you and I, and very clear with Steve and then Nate Heinold, that I had this other role at that particular event. So I'm going to be able to, be part of the live broadcast, but certainly nowhere near the extent of what I was this last weekend. And I won't be sitting in a booth for, back-to-back rounds, or anything like that. So
we'll survive, Terry.
It's going to be kind of well, nobody needs me. I'm good. You're good. All good. Come on.
We'll get through it.
According to the internet, I was told, as recently as tonight, that I'm really only in all of this just for myself. And, nice. I do all of this disc golf work just exclusively to feed my own ego and to be pompous and arrogant. So that's
not far off.
No, well, why else would I dedicate this many hours, or choose to be gone for 300 days a year? Or it's the money. You're right. That's the one thing he didn't.
Money.
Yeah, that's the one thing he didn't accuse me of, is all that damn good money, that disc golf rich money I get too.
Yeah, well,
so
can't please everybody on the internet. That's what I always say.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
So what else did you take anything in from Portland as far as the event, or what did you see that was unique at this particular event?
Well, I think we're all, I don't know if there's anyone on the planet, including our top players, that wouldn't say that this course and this experience is where we need to be. This, being back at here since the World Championships is I don't want to just say overdue, but it's clearly, it was due. Maybe that's the best way to put it. At least it was due. And it was, I think that's the takeaway. Every competitor that I heard from, whether it's the awards where everyone's happy or otherwise, just being back at Blue Lake and to play a course that maybe doesn't get a lot of play, in a C tier or recreational, maybe a recreational level is a good way to put it, because I don't think I would go out there and play all too often if I lived nearby.
Ooh, no.
It's a great course. It's just not one that, unless you're as at the caliber that these players are, it probably is a little less appealing. So I could understand that. But I think that was the big takeaway, and I think this is just the start of a solid event. Everybody already putting it into the West Coast swing is exactly what everybody wants. I mean, you're looking at being in, Santa Cruz, and you're looking at being in San Francisco, and obviously everyone's going to be here for Beaver State Fling. So to have this other really high quality, high caliber event in the mix is absolutely perfect. So that was pretty cool. And, all you can say is hats off to Jeff, hats off to Zoe and Dustin and the entire Pro Tour, hats off to Stumptown and Bevel and Discraft. Like, those are all the people that made it happen. And of course, the volunteers and the spotters and the deaf disc golf community stepped up really big in the area for the weekend. And it's just, all of those people are how this thing, gets revived. And I think the Jeffs are involved. Jeff and Jeff, who are usually part of the or who are running the Beaver State Fling. I think I even understood. I didn't understand enough just how crucial one or both of them were in the development of this course and this property. I think there's Dave Felberg, even to my knowledge, I think was given and is recognized as getting a lot of the credit, and I'm sure he did plenty, but it sounds as if there was also a lot of other contributing factors, which I honestly I didn't know. So I apologize if there wasn't enough credit given to everyone else, because I know that they had a great set of people to work on it, and it was more than I even realized. So I guess that's the best way to put it.
That's all good and boring, but it's good information.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
what people want to know is, how was the Disclandia
what I have
beer?
For breakfast?
No, no, that's Kevin Jones. We care about what Kevin Jones eats for breakfast, not you. How was the Disclandia beer?
I know this is going to sound blasphemous and insane, but I did not have any.
Do you purchased some though?
I did not.
Oh, really? I didn't know if you were going to buy some and bring some back.
I was. And so here's the story with that. First of all, I'm not an IPA guy. Nate and I had a really fun talk about this, actually. I'm not much of an IPA guy. In fact, Nate was the one that helped me discover, Nate and Val helped me discover some other beers that I really do like. Yeah. So I had asked him, I said, all right, well, what if I buy this and then get it for other people? And I said, but there's a chance it could get warm and I got to travel and pack it on a plane and do all this other stuff. He's like, it's just not going to taste the same, if it goes through one or two warm up and cool down and all that other stuff. And he said, you can do it. It just, I don't feel like it's a strong representation of the actual beer. And then with that, I just said, okay, well, I'm not going to buy it. I don't want to buy a 4-pack or an 8-pack or whatever, bring it somewhere and then provide it to someone and then not have it be the way it was intended to be and have them possibly have their experience or the taste tarnished in any way, shape or form. And so only because I would have had to travel with it. That's why I decided not to bring any with me. So
it makes sense. I mean, you don't want, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, that would be like me saying, I don't want to put out, shot by shot coverage of this tournament because I can only do it with Windows Movie Maker. And you just don't have, all the full resources to be able to do it when everyone else and myself usually edits in, much more sophisticated setup. So yeah, that's the way I would look at that.
Okay.
So no, did I throw a single golf shot while I was there? Carver, no. the best or the closest thing to that, and I was itching when I got over there after the awards were done yesterday, and I was hanging out at Tournament Central. James Conrad, Peter McBride, and Madison Walker were throwing some Frisbees around, and I got in on that, and I got to throw literally a ultimate lid or Frisbee back and forth for a few minutes. And that was about it. And it felt really good. It really did. As I was looking at that area where we were doing it, that's right where the putting competition took place in the 2014 Worlds. And that's right where I got to fix these. Sorry. I don't know if that's loud or annoying, but that's where the putting competition had taken place for the Worlds, and just brought back some memories. That's where I did some really good interviews back in 2014. So I just kind of hung out around that area, but no golf. I never get any golf. Ooh. Holy cow, though. Let me show you guys this. It's funny. I can't see anything other than a few of the comments. I might have a secret, not so secret. Got
Bear disc
Care Bear
signed by
our two champions.
Oh, look at that.
That's Drew Gibson. You may not recognize the signature. He doesn't.
No one asks him for a signature until now.
he hasn't signed a lot of champion discs.
I'm just
and then
teasing.
Paige Pierce, and Drew was gracious enough to say that the artist even was able to represent my my body and my stomach with the Tear Bear stomach. So that was very gracious of Drew. Thanks. He's disc golf sweetheart. I mean, really.
He is.
So, yeah, appreciate that. So anyway, I did get that signed. That's ultimately going to be for a giveaway of some sort.
And for those of you that are just joining, I did reach out to Drew Gibson, and he was busy disking tonight. He did not get the message until late. After Dana actually messaged him, and then he reached out to me and said, "Hey, sorry, man." I said, "That's okay. Maybe we'll get you on next week."
Okay. I'm going to give a quick shout out, and it's overdue, but also give a quick shout out. La Nina is going on this weekend, the all women's event. I know there are a bunch of women going to it. Chris and El Guapo Baskets have been a huge supporter of Smashbox. They've been a huge supporter of the Disc Golf Guy, and they are putting it on an all women's event this weekend. He's been posting the tournament info and just getting people amped up about it. So huge shout out. Thanks. Good luck. I hope you have great weather. I hope all the women, the sold out event goes as smoothly as I expected to. So I'd also love to maybe have either him and or, the women, the winner next week join us as well. Just such a great heart and a huge supporter. And I know he works all year to make this event a special one for the women. So good luck.
Very cool. Good luck to them for sure.
Yeah. And Makers along those lines is asking about the Rocky Mountain Women's. That takes place August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And I know I'm bringing at least one of my daughters, if not both. And there will be coverage of that. And I do need to check in with Ray over there. There will be coverage of that event. Another amazing women's event. So, hey, Big Putt Bill Sherman. I see he's on the board. I almost just sidetracked to San Jose here tonight, Big Putt Bill. But you're probably not there. Maybe you're in Florida. All right. Johnny, can you think of anything else that you want to ask me about? Otherwise, I may go try and find a hotel and get rowdy in Denver tonight.
Yeah, get rowdy in Denver tonight?
No. I'll probably
go back to the hotel and edit.
Yeah, edit.
I know. I know your lifestyle, Terry Miller. I know your lifestyle. No, I don't think so. You and I we haven't. Funny, because normally after broadcasts, we hang up on the call, and then usually we'll call each other an hour or two later and just kind of sum up what exactly went good and bad and what we can change and just gossip or whatever we do. And we didn't really do that for this event. It was strange having the final on a Monday. Today felt awkward, and I was just thinking, like, I'm not going to sit back down here until next Tuesday because I've had enough of this basement for a while, just with this many days in a row that we've had. So.
Yeah. obviously with Memorial Day being in the mix, and yesterday essentially feeling like a Sunday, from a working perspective, it definitely a little odd moving into today. That's for sure. Yeah, I hopped in the car. Nate and I broke down the studio that we had at the hotel, broke that down, and then drove right over to the award ceremony. And just in the nick of time, I caught the top 3 women getting their awards and the top 3 men getting their awards. And I recorded it, so that will forever get stashed nowhere ever, so that it will probably never see the light of day. But I did get it recorded, and it was great to see, like I said, Drew get crowned. I know Eagle, the quick thing I can mention there is he in a sense had an apology of sorts, or he at least wanted to own, I think he kind of said, something about his emotions and he's not perfect and he's hoping to do better. But, that was the way he addressed, I guess, his reaction is the best way to put it. And I swear to you, as silly as that sounds, this sounds, I had to think about what he was talking about for a second.
Oh, sure.
Just because I thought, like, and obviously it was, it continues to be major conversation, but, maybe to me, what I would say is I feel like there's reactions to things and internal reactions, of course, I just feel are so different. It's the outbursts that disrupt a group, or the outbursts that, I guess impact another player.
That's exactly what I had said. I said I have no problem with the way Eagle handled the situation. It looked childish, but he will see that and adjust for that, and it's hard to adjust for that on the fly. But as long as it doesn't disturb, distract, or detract from anyone on the card or another player, there is not much that I feel we can say about it.
Well, and someone could say, well, yeah, it was distracting. Other people still had to pot, and everyone else had these tap ins. So I could understand how someone could say that. I think it would be more egregious if it was a tee shot on 18 that he throws errantly, goes OB, and then he's like, doing back somersaults across the middle of the fairway, and holding up play or something. Like, again, then I think it certainly impacts the other players more. But even that, not that I would excuse that, but even that, one could say, which would you rather see? Would you rather see a backward somersault, or would you rather hear him audibly, belt out, an obscenity? Not that either, we don't have to play an either or
Correct.
game, but again, there are certain things that, and it's 100% subjective. What I think is acceptable, you may not, and vice versa, and so on and so forth. Everyone has their different level of accountability and how much they want to accept or think is a big deal. And the same could be said of the Adam situation on all levels. What he did, how I reacted, how our cameraman reacted, how everyone reacted. Everyone has just a different barometer that they're measured on to look at it. So,
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna boot you from the show.
Go ahead. I'm good with that. I don't.
You are a boring guest. You're a much better co-host than a guest.
I don't think so.
And I want to get Dion on. So.
Oh, you would. Oh, I love Dion.
I said this on the thing. Is Dion not the smartest looking player that we have?
I think the connection's breaking up.
No, seriously. Is there who's a smarter looking golfer?
He wants to look. Well, I mean, come on. Yeah, he's studious. Studious, is that a good word?
Yeah, he's very studious looking. I mean, he's clearly athletic and whatnot, but in general, with usually I picture Dion playing, even though I know he doesn't. in like a cardigan and these nice glasses, just one step short of a pipe. But ultimately, he shot very well this weekend, and I'm going to get him on and get his input into how the event went. So,
yeah, no bias by Stephanie Arlyn chimed in. I'm sure.
I said nothing about his actual physical looks. I'm just saying with the exterior that he has, that he puts on.
Exterior.
Hey, Miss Arlyn.
Quick question before I look for a place to sleep tonight. Like, do people still kill people from Craigslist? Like,
no, that was a couple years ago. You're fine now.
Okay, so if someone like offered up like an inexpensive couch or something, or a free couch, like I can assume via Craigslist, there's no more Craigslist killers. That's right? That's the thing?
Check couchsurfer.com or something.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, if anybody's got spare hotel points, shoot them to me. We'll know.
Call Joe Revere. Call Joe Revere. See what he's doing.
He's probably got to teach kids in the morning.
School in the morning, I'm sure. Call Pat McMahon.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Too bad they're not that close.
No,
if I would have found out about this so late, I do think there's a number of Colorado golfers I would have certainly reached out to. But, this all unfolded at the last minute. If anyone wants to steal my suitcase with all those sweet Smashbox shirts, that's still going to arrive in Milwaukee tonight. So I will not have that. But, yeah, it'll be there.
Good luck.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. Love you guys. Thanks for everything. Everyone said all the kind, positive things this weekend. Thanks for tuning in and sharing and just being part of the live experience. I love me some post-production. I love making it, but I think we've again proved this weekend, like there's
no substitute for live.
Different. Yeah. It's amazing, and I'm super excited we get to be part of bringing that to the world. So, all right, guys, appreciate it. See you, Johnny. I know you're not so useful, so
bye. I just hung up on him. We don't need him. We don't need him. We don't need him tonight. We're all prepped for a solo show, and he's got to come barging into our party. What a guy. No, just kidding. As always, I am personally always glad to have Terry Miller sit next to me or join into the show, because he has an insider track on disc golf that I truly think nobody else has. So I'm going to call it a night for the regular show. We're going to bring Dion on in the after show. So if you're listening to this in an audio format, you're going to hear this on like Saturday in the park. Anyway, if you'd like to support SmashBoxxTV, you can do so at patreon.com. Oh, I think it's already. He's calling me back. Oh no, just kidding. It's Dion. Hold on one second. We're gonna do a real quick end of the show, and I will. We'll see you. Yeah, SmashBoxxTV, patreon.com. Support us. I'll see you in the after show in just a few minutes. All right, everybody, welcome to the SmashBoxxTV after show, episode 249, podcast 249, session 249, whatever you want to call it. We're one short of 250. I am John Van Derzen. I am here solo tonight. No Terry Miller. He is stuck in Denver for the night. He just joined us on the regular show to give us the update. We talked all about the Portland Open, and we talked about players. It's not often that our big guest is the guy who took 12th place at the Portland Open. But tonight, we're going to make an exception. We're going to bring on the person who I have been gushing over for the last hour. We have Dion Arlyn. Dion, look at that. Look at that. You are studious thinking.
Oh, Johnny, hello. I didn't see you there. I was just practicing my advanced calculus.
No, look at you. Look at you. Oh, great to have you on the show again, Dion. Happy to be here. Happy to hear you. Happy to see you play so well. Wow.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, what an adventure. Very excited to put up a good showing. That was a blast.
Was do you think that it was easier for you because there were less expectations for this event? Do you feel like, or did you put your own expectations on for this event?
Yeah, I would say that's true in a kind of a different sense. My expectations were to go enjoy the process, have fun. Of course, I wanted to play well. You know, my three goals were play well enough to get on a covered card, you know, first or second card. Hopefully squeeze in somewhere to get commentary action, and just, you know, keep it together for a whole tournament. So I hit all three check boxes there. So big success for me, but not putting expectations on myself, just setting goals and keeping a healthy balance and perspective on tournament life.
What happened second round? Why'd you stink? you only shot 3 down, actually, as opposed to like 8 down that you did the other rounds.
Yeah, well, if you saw any of the coverage, you saw me airball about 5 putts right. So I certainly was a little bit nervous, some camera jitters, and that was the warmest round. And my weakness is kind of sticky, you know, sweaty palms. So my putt attacky, and I was just holding on too long on the putts and couldn't settle down. But doesn't affect my driving, my throwing, you know, which is, you know, my strength. But on the green, I just had no touch.
Okay, well, that's a good reason as any as to why that particular round did not go as smooth as some of the other ones. I'm looking at, your round 2 score here. Looks like, there you are. Yeah, you just had, a couple 2 putts there for sure. Looks like, and a couple missed circle 2 putts, and what is 2? I mean, you only missed 2 inside the circle. Just you just didn't hit any of the ones just outside of the circle, it looks like. So
yeah, most of my circle 2 putts were only about 3 or 4 feet outside the circle, so all of them were under 40, which is, you know, as a pro, something that you're hoping to at least connect on metal for.
Yeah, and airballing them is not is usually not the option. So Portland,
yeah, not a good look on.
Definitely not a good look. So Portland has come and gone. You said you wanted to get some post-production stuff in. You clearly worked with Ian, and you did post-production on which rounds? Just the second round or the first and second round?
Just the second round. So okay. He allowed me to do the commentary over the card I was one of the players on, which was really exciting. And, you know, fingers crossed for whatever comes up. BSF, I'm hoping I can connect with you guys. I was dying to try to find Terry and give him a big hug and, you know, just see how things were going for him. But he was super busy that weekend, and I wasn't able to kind of have the freedom to run around and find him.
Yeah, he got out to the course, I believe, the final day only. Or no, a second. Yeah, I think only the final day between rounds, and then for the awards. But he didn't, I don't believe he had a rental car or anything, so he was relying on rides from Nate and Val and this and that. So I know he was a little bit more difficult to get a hold of.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we got to make sure, I think I have your guys' email and you have mine, but let's make sure we get numbers shared. So when the fling comes up, if we need to run around and connect, we can make that happen.
Yeah, we'll be, I mean, thankfully that is 2 courses at one part. So I'm sure, and I'll be there. I don't know what the schedule looks like for FPO, but I know we'll be covering 1 round a day. So I'm sure we'll have some time either before or after, figure something out. Maybe if I can, we'll figure it out. I don't know why, but I have this, like, I'm excited to do filming, kind of, but I kind of want to hope that I have time. I want to caddy for somebody. I don't know. I don't know why. Like, I see all these players play more than probably almost any other person, but there's some part of me that wants to grab a bag and just hump it along with one of these players and just kind of just go find one of the guys on the top two or 3 cards and just kind of throw it on and then just kind of go and see if anyone needs one. So we'll see if there's time for that, or if the men and women play at the same time, which I have a feeling they're probably going to if they're on 2 separate courses. So I don't know if I'm going to get that chance, but we'll see. We'll figure something out as far as after the round or after the course. Maybe we'll get dinner or something one night. That would be fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, and caddying's a blast. I caddied for Nate, I think last year, maybe the year before, and it's a great way to take in the event and kind of be part of it at the same time.
I know I'm very fortunate that, getting inside the ropes, I'm inside every rope on every camera here, that I get to see all the stuff that everyone that even the people we don't show sometimes, behind the scenes stuff. So it's interesting, to say the least sometimes. But how did you feel that the event went overall, as far as how it was run, the course, clearly we kind of went over your play, that you did what, but do you have any input or I don't want to say the word vision, but do you have anything that you'd like to let the people know about the Portland Open?
Sure. Yeah. Well, first off, Blue Lake is a great venue for it. It's a nice, big regional park. There's shelters, there's area for warm up. There's lots of space on the course for spectators, lots of ways to interact with the fans. So as far as the venue goes, it's actually pretty perfect for a big scale event. As a participant, it's very interesting because, I was fortunate enough to have later tee times, which is something I'm not used to. Most times I'm just kind of middle of the pack at these big events. And so I get to be there early, get to see everybody come and go, get to, connect with a lot of people. But coming in a little bit later, most of the action is already kind of cleared out onto the course. And those last couple cards, you're kind of warming up by yourself, just putting with a few other of the guys on the in the putting area. So I didn't get to see hardly any of my, Portland friends. Jesse Bickley, who's a guy I like to hang out with, when I come down to Portland, stay with him. I didn't see him once the entire weekend. So things like that are kind of strange, and, a big venue where it's all spread out makes it a little bit harder to connect with those folks. But as far as like a fan experience or just a place to host a lot of people for disc golf, pretty awesome venue. And Jeff did great. Zoe and Dustin did great. Having Nate and Val there working the booth, all of that was pretty awesome. So this event can definitely get a lot bigger, and this venue can accommodate that growth.
What was your take overall on the course and the layout? I know a lot of people, they didn't like the look of hole 17. Partially, I think, because it was so different than every other one of the holes that we saw out there. And to be fair, I don't know if it necessarily shined on camera with any of the groups that we had, that it looked like people were just chunking their way through that.
Yeah, 17 is truly a unique personality on that course. Most of the holes follow this kind of loop around this wetlands area, and it's fairly wide open. There are some trees, some very basic shot shaping out there on the course, but 17 is the only hole that really just puts you right in the woods for a sustained amount of time. And it's also not clean. The ground is littered with brush, in downed logs, and whereas the rest of the course is pretty lush grass. So It's a very different feel, very different effect. And because of the length and because of the roughness of that hole, it just kind of feels out of character. But it's a challenging hole, true par 5, but not the same. If they clean it up a little bit, hole gets easier, but it kind of fits more with the course. So I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I get it. And I know Terry and Nate talked about it, how that is one of those holes that looms on the course, you coming up to it. When you start to get to 14, 15, 16, you're starting to think about 17, that it could be a round killer for you. It could be, you could just as easily take a 4 as you could take a 7. And it's a tree kick, it's a slip, it's anything on that hole, because it does have just a little bit of, I don't want to say luck, but a little bit of randomness thrown into it, depending on what happens. And it is kind of like the hole 17 at Winthrop when you're coming up to it, where it's just got that demeanor, a little bit of scared. And we saw players that, a lot of them came up to that hole timid and threw it poorly off the tee, when the tee shot in general should just be what looked like a slight turnover off the tee, just try to keep it straight, and maybe just a hair, to the right. And we saw a lot of people just throw it straight left, right into the stuff. And I don't know if they were just trying to fluff it and let go of it early, or what the goal was. But we saw so many players throw it left.
Yeah, well, the hole is actually extremely well placed on the course. A player like myself, I'm throwing exclusively hyzers for 16 holes, and then you step up to 17, and it's like, oh yeah, I gotta turn this, and that's like you haven't done that for the last 4 hours. So to get that shot that flips up and gets the late turn through the gap is actually a pretty demanding shot, and then to come that late in the round when you haven't thrown that shot, potentially a single time, is extremely well placed. So to give it some perspective, in round 1, I had a bad drive, scrambled through for a 5. Round 2, I had a perfect drive, got that on camera, which was nice, but still had to scramble through for a 5. And third round, I had a decent drive and scrambled through 4 or 5. So the hole doesn't really let you do much other than just fight through. So
sure, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, random is. When said Makers Telemark says random is random. That course, you brought up a good point. There's a lot of hyzers on that course. I mean, for a righty and a lefty, it's not like it's just there are hole 3 and hole 18. I don't necessarily think I'd want to be a lefty on, but for the most part, a lot of them there have a lefty shot. 13 actually, I don't necessarily know if I'd want to be a righty. I'd think probably rather be a lefty or a forehand there, but yep. That course is definitely kind of it's very friendly to the hyzer, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's where you get the comparisons to USDGC, length and OB, and the fact that somebody with a strong hyzer game, and if they have both spins, the backhand hyzer, the forehand hyzer, they're going to score well, because it's just about controlling your landing angles and setting yourself up for clean second looks out there. So if you have both ways to attack, then you're going to do well.
Awesome. So you have, what was your expectation going into that particular round? Like, did you have a score goal? Did you have a placement goal? Or was it just try to shoot what you consider well?
Yeah, I think probably the best thing that I did, and probably the single contributor to having a good outing on this course, was understanding how brutal of a course this is and how fast mistakes pile up. I tried to channel my inner Sexton and stay as level as possible, and not even attack certain holes. 17, if you want to give me a 5 for life on that hole, I'll take it. If I never get to birdie it, but I never have to bogey it, I think that's a victory. Hole 16, I was in pretty decent position all 3 rounds, and all 3 rounds I just smashed it into the woods and tried to take a 4, a hole that a player like me could certainly get to in 2, but didn't even care about, wasn't even trying to birdie, just trying to not take a big number. And so having that mentality throughout the round, I didn't really have a score in mind. I think the goal was never take worse than a par and try to take the birdies when they come. So that was really the only kind of expectation, was stay level, try to make the putts when you have the opportunity, and sticking to that game plan allowed me to string together some long, good rounds. So that was great.
Did you get to play with anybody that you were familiar with, or I don't know who was on your card, particularly what rounds?
Yeah, I'll run through the whole group. So round 1, I had Justin Anderson from Oregon and John Katansky from, I think he's from Portland, maybe Vancouver, but I think Portland.
Almost a local boy card.
Yeah, so 2 guys I knew, and then our 4th dude didn't show up. So first round was actually really chill. We just had a lot of fun, just some guys that I'm familiar with. And so we just kind of tried to keep each other positive, and, that was fortunate. And I think that's, probably part of the reason that I scored as well as I did, is it was just kind of like a good kind of friendly, casual feeling round. Of course, round 2, got to play with Alex Russell for the first time, Luke Humphreys, who I hadn't met before, and then some guy, I don't know, I didn't like him. His name was Nate Sexton. And then final round, I had Chris Clemens, who I hadn't met yet, and that was pretty cool. Andrew Presnell, who I also hadn't met yet, and then Patrick Brown, who I had known since my old touring days. So that was a kind of a fun group to have a mix of new and familiar faces with.
Yeah, I think it was Nate Perkins. Dana had said that Nate Perkins really didn't know who you were at all. Like that he was on the commentary or something, and he didn't realize, he's not been in the sport long enough to remember. And it hasn't been forever since you've been on tour, but a good 6-7 years that you've been away from.
Yep.
That some of these guys here have never had the chance, or definitely weren't even playing pro the last time you kind of were on tour, and then you step in and
Oh yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think back to like I think 2011 was the real big year I went out, so it's been 8 years. So Anthony Barella was like 7.
It's so sad.
So that's
yeah.
So that's, I like messing with those dudes. He Anthony Barella is such a cool guy, but he's got his own style, and I just tried to give him a kind of a funny jab and compliment at the same time. And I think he was looking at me like, who's this old guy talking to me? What is happening?
Like, oh, he throws pretty far, but yeah, he's old. Look at him, look how old.
Yeah.
Well, I'm rattling through like the top players, like Drew, Eagle, Simon, Seppo, Conrad, Ricky. Ricky might have been. No, I don't think Ricky was open until like 20.
No, he was, because it was his rookie year that I was on tour. I was actually going to do a second half of the season with him, but even back then he knew that he was going to be way better than me. So he was just like, yeah, no, I can't tour with this.
Yeah, he's kind of a loner. I mean, obviously there was Sexton, Kevin Jones, Alex Russell, Michael Joe. Clearly he's been around forever. James Proctor, and then you. And so really it was you and Sexton are kind of the old guys. Old touring guys on thing, because Michael Joe, he's been around, but he was never he was always the East Coast guy. He was the East Coast woods player that everybody knew about, but he never really went west of the Mississippi. So it's kind of funny seeing all those names of people who weren't playing. And I was thinking earlier tonight, before I knew that whether Drew or not was going to be on, when Drew started going pro, and I remember, I think it was the 2012 Memorial, him and I played advanced together, and
oh wow,
and he beat me by like 2 strokes. I think I took 5th and he took like 3rd or something at that particular event, and just where that went from there, it's kind of just all kind of funny. But he's he put on a heck of a show. Were you able to hang around and watch the playoff and everything like that?
Yep, I finished my round, got a bite, was just kind of relaxing, and then I didn't want to, the top card was probably on hole 15 or 14 when I got done, but I didn't want to immediately jump back out there, just kind of needed a minute to rest. So I just waited for them to come through 18 and watch Simon try to get the 2 and throw, in my opinion, kind of an unimpressive second shot, flirted with the OB, hit the ball, and missed a putt, and I'm actually really shocked he did not birdie hole 18, and then it sounds like Eagle missed that putt. He didn't birdie 18 also. That's kind of tragic, because those guys should be eating that hole up for breakfast.
Yeah, so. They really should, especially, I mean, where Simon was, he played it deeper so he could go out and around. So all he had to do was throw down a spike hyzer, more or less, a 300, maybe 250, depending on. I'm not exactly sure.
No, he was only about 180 away.
Oh, is that it? I thought it was closer to 250. So only 180. I was gonna say, I don't know the distance based on cameras, always lie. And he just pulled it left, and he pulled it short, and he's lucky he hit the fence. And I was thinking, if it's only 180, then he definitely that's a shot he should make. I would say 98 out of 100 times. It's a big. Yeah. It wasn't windy. It wasn't. It was just up and down, and then he ended up obviously missing the putt.
Yeah, I think that's another one of those instances where I'm trying to count in my head if I've ever thrown a 180 hyzer or 200-foot hyzer. It's probably closer to 200 feet on that course, and you don't throw that shot. You could literally go all weekend, and that's the first time he's thrown a 200-foot power shot. On that kind of angle. So it's like your muscles are kind of jacked up from throwing, big hyzer bombs, and now you've got to add some touch to it. It does make it a little bit more difficult, but, Simon should, he's one of the best in the world. I'd like to think he can call on a 200-foot hyzer when he needs it. So
yeah, that's a really good point. In that these guys off the tee are throwing 300 to 400-foot hyzer shots constantly. They have there has been very little touch in their game probably, unless they've made a mistake. And now you need to find that right distance and dial it back the right amount. And Simon clearly underdialed it and then missed that putt. But
yep,
yeah, it's a brutal game sometimes, and they are under. All you guys are under the spotlight. I was disappointed we didn't. I'm sure as you were that we didn't get you on the live, but it was nice to have you on at least the second card, because I think we did get a couple shots of yours in on occasion. I think we popped in on 2 or 3 shots on that final. I think it was the final round. We were able to get you there. Or maybe it was the second round. I think it was the second round.
Probably second round, because I was on that chase card. Yeah. So I think you guys caught up to me on hole 11.
Yeah.
Saw me make my bogey safe putt. And hole 13 approach from the fairway. I wouldn't know, because I never go back and watch live coverage of myself dozens and dozens of times that evening. It's something I don't do.
I was on Smashbox. Look at that. Yeah. It's and I honestly I couldn't remember. It's funny because I don't remember. It's like the podcasts. You could tell me in a week or two if I said something, and I'd be like, I don't know. We talk a lot. Right. I see so much golf, and with the players, you just it's okay. There's a player making a shot. Cut to that person. Okay, now let's cut off of that person and go to this person or go to this commercial. It's so formatted. I never know who's on what. It's why when Dana was talking to me about some of the golf, I have to look at UDisc and think like, okay, what did we see? I take it in, but I don't always necessarily compute it. So I need to think about it a little bit better. So,
yeah.
So you're getting ready for me. Go ahead.
I was going to say, maybe you can help me out. I'm a kindred spirit with all the smashes on the board. At some point tonight, before we get too long, I want to just open it up with just some questions for them, because sometimes when I get on here, they are blowing it up, and I don't always see the comments, but it would be fun to let them, take some shots at me. But maybe ask your Beaver State Fling question, and then we can maybe look at some comments.
Yeah, I just put it out there. So any questions or comments for Dion? He's one of you guys. He's one of us, and he was at the top of the game this past weekend. So, Beaver State Fling, what? Now that you have kind of come out and I don't want to say you didn't make a statement by any means, but you came out and performed well. What is your expectation for Beaver State? It's a totally different type of course, and there's way less OB, but being off the fairway is a lot rougher as well.
Yeah. So I'm actually really excited about the Fling. I played a local B tier there on the 27-hole layout earlier in the year, and I shot Ironman for 2 rounds. So if I can replicate that, I had like super high scramble rate, 80-90% scramble rate at that event. If I can continue some of that good approach game at the Fling and shoot Ironman, that's good enough. Last year it would have been good enough for 3rd. And so if you can go, 53 for 4 rounds and take it down, that's well within the realm of possibility. If you look at my performance this past weekend, I was really excited to have some stats to compare myself against. I was 3rd in fairways hit for the weekend. And so, I'm throwing the disc well, I'm putting it down the fairway, I'm getting good distance, getting good position. And so I think the par 3s and 4s at Milo are going to play well for me, and I just got to find a way to get the disc in the basket. If I can raise my C1X putting, closer to the 85-90% and get it out of the 65-75%, I think I have a chance to have another good showing and aiming for top 10.
Yeah, your C1X right now is 77%. You're 76th on tour right now. This was your first Pro Tour event, correct?
That is correct.
And yeah, 'cause I'm looking at your stats here on UDisc. Shout out to UDisc here. And it has you in here, obviously, for just Portland 2019 and Beaver State for 2019. And you officially have UDisc stats. I guess that makes you a pro. That makes you somebody now.
Yeah. You said I didn't make a statement. I'd like to think I made a statement. Mike Joe was the only other Discraft guy to have me that weekend or beat me that weekend. So, I'm trying to get back to the point where I can be, somewhat relevant. And if only for 2 events of the year in my neck of the woods, I'll take it.
And I guess to me, saying like making a statement would have been like a top 5 come out and be like, yeah, don't like that to me. I think you obviously played very well, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, Johnny, let's not get greedy. Okay, one event at a time.
We'll say you made a statement. You made a statement to yourself, and that's what matters the most.
Yeah,
you definitely proved.
I improved upon my lifetime average of like 39th place at NTs. So.
Yeah. Well, let's. This is not an NT event. This was a Pro Tour event, so you need to slow your roll next week or in 2 weeks. Because it's funny because I was looking at after the event wrapped up, I was sitting in my living room and I was like, oh, that's right. Dion was shooting well. Let me see where he is, and I found you right away. And I was looking at some of the people like you beat Garrett Gerthy, who won just a week ago. You beat Josh Anthon, who is one of the world's greatest putters. Adam Hammis, who was in the lead. Patrick Brown, obviously, who with Dustin Keegan, who always plays very well through this West Coast swing. Like it's Kelvin Heimberg, who is an NT champion this year. You put as we used to joke around as when we were younger. You put some people on your bitch list. Like you that was the term we used to use when we were kids, and we'd beat somebody that we probably, to us, we shouldn't beat. Now you obviously are a different story because you have the experience and the talent and the know-how from years of touring. But it is you put some people on that list. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm happy with myself, and I think probably the best way that I can kind of take it and try to keep it all in perspective is just being extremely grateful that my wife will share me, 4 days out of the week to go play an event like this and have that opportunity. Having family and having kids, having a newborn and everything is a lot to ask of her. So I know she's sitting in the living room watching the show right now, but I want to say, Stephanie, thank you, and I love you and appreciate you for letting me play.
Yeah, Disc Golf Wives are always the undersold member of the household. They have to deal with sometimes they have to deal with so much, unfortunately, for someone like you or me. When I'm down here for 3 to 4 days, my wife has, she gets, usually depending on which side of the country the event is on, sometimes she has to bring the kids to school, pick them up from school, feed them, get them ready for bed. Tonight I was able to run upstairs and put the kids to bed because I was working on some things for the show. It just they're definitely something, and I can't even imagine. I'm very close friends with Terry and his wife. I can't imagine what she has to deal with him being gone literally 300 days a year and 2 wonderful young little girls. But they shout out to all the Disc Golf Wives out there and the Disc Golf Wives that play too. So
yeah.
So a couple questions from the board. Have you heard anything back from Discraft in general after this? I know it's pretty early considering the event just ended yesterday.
Who's asking the question? I want to know who's up.
Makers Telemark says, has Discraft reached back out to you?
Okay, Makers, 2 things. Eagle should not have laid up on that second shot on the playoff. He's trying to make a point that if he had laid up and put it close, he would have put more pressure on Drew. At the top level, you don't let the other guy seal his own, put his destiny in his own hands. You need to keep the destiny in your hands. So Eagle had to take a shot at the green on that second. I know you disagree, but you're wrong. Discraft, no, Discraft hasn't reached out to me, but I'll probably shoot Bob an email and just check in and, at the very least just say, hey, hope I'm doing you guys proud and, hoping to keep this pace up and see what comes of that. But, they're always looking out for me. So even if I was taking 70th place and needed to get a replacement batch of forces, I'm sure they'd be hooking it up.
Yeah, Discraft they've always been, and not that any other manufacturer isn't, but I know Discraft people personally, and they've always been very good with their players and to their players. So it's always it's fun to see. And And who knows? Maybe if you shoot really, really well at Beaver State, maybe 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 Bob will take your email off that filter. He's got you into that folder.
That's right.
Let's see here. What is your? This is Stand Tall Studios. What is your favorite roller disc? Did you throw many rollers?
I do, and I actually had a lot of good ones at Blue Lake this past week, and I actually have a pretty low-key great roller. And I used the Surge SS for the long set-down rollers, and then this past weekend I was using the plain old Surge because I needed a little bit more cut out of each of those rollers out there today or this past weekend. So, yep, Surge or Surge SS. If I'm going really long range and it has to hold going left, I upgrade up to the Hurricane. But yeah.
I don't think it's I mean, I didn't know personally, but I don't think it would be much of a surprise for someone to tell us, oh yeah, a guy who played with Nate Sexton for a long time has a good roller. Like Nate is known, Nate is known as one of the best rollers in the game. So to hear you say like, oh yeah, I got a good roller too, not a big surprise there. So I'm glad to hear that. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? Not a lot of them. Someone asking about a babysitter, but how many times has this is from Carver John? How many times has your wife Stephanie watched your distance clinic on YouTube?
Are we asking how many times has she been forced to, or how many times has she voluntarily looked it up?
See, honey, I used to be somebody. Don't forget it. Remember the guy you fell in love with.
Yeah, 'cause we have a 9:30 ritual where I turn off all the lights, I light some candles, turn on the surround sound, and I play that video 9 times before we go to bed. So she's seen it a few times. Yeah, I'd probably
make my wife suffer through that too if I had that. Have you been able to get a hold of any of the new Discraft discs at all? The Raptor, the Kong. I know you. They probably. I don't know if they sent you any, but being at the Portland event, which was a Discraft sponsored event, I'm sure there was plenty of Discraft plastic to be had. Did you get your hands on any?
They didn't have any of the Raptors out there. They didn't have any of the Kongs, which is actually fine. I think back to what I threw in Blue Lake, and I threw all Forces for long range, all Predators for the 350 ones, and I think I threw a Wasp once on hole 6. That was my play on hole 6, and that's it. So I didn't really need any of those, and I have a naturally overstable game to begin with, so my Forces and Predators are already pretty dialed in. I'm really interested in the Kong. If I find the ones that are on the understable side and kind of get that flip and ride, having already beat Force would be kind of nice. But the Raptor, I actually don't see myself needing to use a Raptor just because I already used the Predator and the drone. So I've got from 200 to 380 covered on the forehand.
Wow, that's a big distance. Just 200 to 380. For hole 6 with your Wasp, do you go? We saw Simon take more of a spike hyzer at it, but then we watch a lot of players throw a little bit more of a flat disc. But with a Wasp, that's relatively, for most of us, overstable. How do you play that one particularly?
Yeah, so of all the shots, actually, this is the hole that I'm most proud of myself for executing because I don't have a problem throwing hard. As is the case with some of the big arms, I actually have a hard time dialing it back. So throwing fan grip, under 300 feet with the mid-range is a shot I've been practicing all year long. So I mentally committed to that shot, not to knock on Nate. He leans into that forehand, but most of the top guys are throwing the backhand there, which I think plays to that green a little bit better. And so whereas Nate kind of goes, nah, I'm not feeling it, I'll throw the forehand. This is an opportunity for me to kind of commit to that backhand shot. And so I threw the Wasp. I go just a little bit of hyzer, low and flat down the right side, and try to just kind of check it up in front of the trees and not flirt with the OB. And so I got it all 3 rounds. So I was very proud of myself for sticking mentally to the backhand shot when, the tendency is to want to go to the comfort zone and throw the forehand. So
Really? Okay. I mean, I look at it and I think like Simon had the right approach. For me personally, just throwing a big high spike hyzer at it. Like
the right side branch is actually kind of come into play. I mean, he's a specialist at that shot, so that's his comfort zone.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but if you looked at like, you know, I'll give you a couple of really good backhanders. Kyle Crabtree throws a Comet down the left side and flips it up away from the OB. I think that's about as pure as it gets as a shot on that hole. Most of the dudes are kind of throwing that medium stability, slight, you know, hyzer to flat shot. You know, and then I think Nate was the only forehander.
Yeah, I don't recall
obviously he's got talent to just put it there, but
yeah, I would love to try the Comet shot, but I don't think I'd have the guts to do it. I think I would probably end up either trying to throw the spike hyzer or taking something like a newer stable Buzz or a Wasp if I happen to have that in my bag, and probably throwing it more flat off to the right and letting it come in. So that's
yeah, I'm gonna go check out Simon's spike hyzer shot, because that's actually kind of a scary play. You know, I want to see where he's lining that up and how vertically he's landing it, because that's something I wouldn't think of. So, you know, I'm going to go to school on the footage on that one.
It's a good plan, because it's, I mean, to check out, because he is he clearly knows what he was, and he, at least I think the 2 times we watched him, I think he put it fairly close both times. I can take a I can actually look at what round this is round 2, hole 6. Yeah, he had one from 16 feet, and then round 3 on hole 6. 5. Yeah, he parked it 5 feet away. He basically pinned it, and both times.
Hold on.
Wait
a second. Are we talking about hole 6?
We're talking about hole 6.
You know what I was thinking about literally the entire time?
What were you thinking about?
Hole 4.
Oh, hole 4. No. Oh, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, 4 and 6 are a little, like 6 they consider the ace run. It's on the pyramid. 4 is the just a you know, hyzer with OB on the left and right that people most of the time just take a fairly stable mid range and a slower disc, because you don't want to be OB past it. No, I was we were talking about 6. Sorry.
Hence why I threw a Wasp, because I'm thinking hole 4.
Yeah,
of course I go forehand spike on 6. What do you think? I'm a psychopath?
A forehand spike?
Forehand predator all day long. I didn't even have to think about that hole. Holy cow.
Which is funny, because for hole 6, the only other forehand I saw was Nate Sexton. Everybody else threw a backhand at it.
They're crazy.
And Simon obviously threw the big spike hyzer at it and pinned it right down. But no, for hole 4, Simon threw some mid-range disc, and he actually, I think, ran the basket on one round and skipped past it and hit the comeback, and one time he pinned it. So
yeah. All right. Well, I apologize. I was thinking about hole 4 that whole time.
Oh, that's fine. That's all right. 4, 6. I mean, the front 9 are the ones where you got to get all your birdies anyway. So it's
exactly.
And try to fight through the back 9, unless you're Seppo, who, you know, just rattled off a whole bunch in the back 9 on that second round, or I'm sorry, that third round where he put up. I think he got all but one of them. So way to go, Seppo.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Holy cow.
Yeah. He birdied all but hole 15 on the back 9.
Wow.
Which he parred. So that is and he only got 4 technically on the front 9. So silly.
Dang. Yeah, he's good.
Yes, Seppo's fun to watch. Which is funny, because every time I've seen him play, whether it's live, I haven't seen a lot of his post-production stuff, but
sure,
he hasn't played well. I don't know what it was. I don't know, it's a little nerves or whatever, but every time everyone's so excited to see Seppo, and he's been on our feature card, he just doesn't play well, and I'm like, oh, well, great, another one of these. Like, I want to see, and he's clearly a phenomenal player, just never get a chance to see it. So
I have to say, Seppo gave me my my most feels highlight of the weekend for me. Warming up on the first day, he was putting, I was putting, and kind of wandered over to him. I was like, hey, Seppo, long time no see. I think the last time I saw you was when we were at Santa Cruz Worlds. We were both throwing off the pier. You hit that huge ace. That was pretty rad. And he's like, oh, yes. Nice to see you. I used to look up to you in your distance videos. I was like, dude, just made my day. Seppo, you're the man.
And well, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that started out and watched a lot of those distance videos that would probably say the same thing, whether they admit to it or not. I wouldn't be surprised if you heard the same thing from I'm trying to look at the names here, like Adam Hammis probably, or Kelvin Heimberg, or Anthony Barella. I bet you all of them at one point, they're the kids that grew up on YouTube, and I bet you a lot of them probably watched that video over and over and over. That and was Robbie Bratton in that video with you, or
he has a clip that edited into that video when we talked about his grip.
That's what
but he was on a previous video blasting up the hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And those videos were so popular in the early YouTube time of when people started to really kind of dig into disc golf on YouTube and wanted to learn how to throw far, because most people probably just went to YouTube and typed disc golf throw far. Hey, look, here's this guy Dion who throws far.
Yep.
So let's go back to the board here. How often do you, Ryan Pilcher asks, how often do you get out to go disc golfing these days?
It's a good question. I played 10 tournaments now, and so that's at least 10 days of disc golf. And then after that, probably about once a week, maybe every other week. Between the Oregon Open, the Kitsap Classic that I played, and this, I think I only played 1 or 2 rounds. Yeah, that was it. So pretty light on the practice, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, you get in where you fit in. Maker Stellmark asks, what's Nate Sexton's biggest weakness in his game? Not like kryptonite, because he's not Superman, although he probably could play one on TV pretty well. He'd be a good Clark Kent, more than likely. But what's Nate's biggest weakness on the course?
You got to be careful when I start talking about Nate. I've known the dude for a long time, but I'll keep it high level, keep it simple. The mistakes that frustrate him the most is when he tries to power up on a backhand and he releases early and soft. We have a saying that every now and then I'll throw out, probably not as much anymore, but probably 10 years ago we were playing tournament and I said, Nate, you just need like a mantra, remember the Alamo, just like something to say, just when you got to get psyched up for a shot, remember the Alamo and just rip it. And, that's kind of like a joke now because I don't think that actually helps him at all. But
you don't know.
Every now and then, I think I don't know what it is, but he just doesn't, he's just not firing on the backhand. Probably a confidence, thing ultimately, as any non-execution in golf is just about confidence. But I think that's his biggest weakness. But damned if he doesn't figure out a way to compensate that for U.S. championship. So
yeah, he's amazing. Honestly, he's so consistent, and a lot of that is that inside the circle or circle level putting that he just seems to be so dialed in on all the time. What do you consider your home course right now?
Fort Steilacoom Park. Yep, I'm about 5 minutes away.
All right, Fort Steilacoom, for those of you for a long time hosted one of the larger events every touring season. There's still a standard event there, but I think it doesn't have quite the open draw that it used to back in the day. I'm sure it still gets a fair amount in your area, but it used to kind of be a national drawn event. Now,
yeah. Back when I started playing, the Sextons were traveling and playing tournaments, and I remember they came back with a sweet looking trophy, and it was a SSO, glass plaque that Jason Koch had made. He's the tournament director there for a number of years. And, they were talking about watching Barry Schultz play. And I had just learned, that summer, basically, what disc golf was from Colin. And I was like, Barry who? Like what? And then they explained to me who all the good guys were, and so that tournament was important, in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, it really was. It was one of the ones that everybody looked for, and it was one of the staples. Like the Memorial, VPO was that back in the day, and this was just when the USDGC was kind of starting out. These were some of the events that everybody went to, and your Brent Hambrick, your KC Wide Open, Masters Cup. Those were like the big events that everybody went to, and now a lot of those events have just haven't been able to keep up with the current technology and the current players, and they're not as championship caliber anymore. So putting some of our players, I don't know much about the Fort, but I know some of these other events that we're talking about now, they just don't hold up, unfortunately. The courses don't, at least.
No, yeah, they don't. And it's got 2 18s. They're not hard. There's probably about 8 really good holes, really good par 3s on the course, and probably about a dozen medium holes, and then another dozen not good.
Sure.
So it's a great practice course and allows me to work on certain parts of my game that I want to work on, but it does nothing for me to prepare for like a blue link.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And for those of you out there, I mean, just because your local course is not championship caliber doesn't mean that you can't get something out of it. My favorite course to play in the area is Valley View, where I can literally go out with a putter and get every hole out there. But it's also probably the one part of my game I need the most work on. So I started playing much better when I started playing that course, and we would just do 2-disc challenges, and you bring a Comet and a putter, and that's all I would bring at the time, which was a magnet. It was a Comet and a magnet. But ultimately, you don't need to have the par 64 course. It can be the par 49 or par 48 that will help your game out in ways. Try to find the course that challenges your game the most, and if you can't find one nearby, then adjust and bring discs that will challenge you, and it'll make you definitely a better player. What?
Yep, that's true.
Would you consider yourself for the most part right now a Discraft player for life? I mean,
it's hard to argue against that.
Yeah.
Let's pretend in some crazy fantasy world that I win the fling, right? And it's like, okay, this guy's got a contract coming his way. Not that just one tournament would even do that, but it would take a pretty significant amount of coaxing to get me away from Discraft.
Mm-hmm.
And at the absolute minimum, if another team or sponsor said, hey, you're the kind of whatever player, personality, articulate dude that we want to have on our squad, I would absolutely go to Discraft first and say like, hey, I want to make this sustainable and viable for income for me and my family, and this is what I'm looking at. Is there any way we can make it work? So I could say Discraft, because that would absolutely be my preference.
Okay.
And if they said no, then I guess maybe I would look at those other options if it meant being able to have a deeper career with disc golf. But
Mm-hmm.
The likelihood of that is very low, and my loyalty to Discraft is very high. So,
well, that's good, and those are things we've heard from a lot of other Discraft players in the past as well. Does it? And I think about this for a few players. Does it feel like it kind of sucks that you felt like you're maybe just like 3 or 4 years early on your career? Like, had you just been a little bit later, you could be. Not that you're not happy with your family and all this other stuff. Let's put that aside. But just think that like today, someone like an Adam Hammis, who throws far, who puts. I would, I don't necessarily want to compare games with him and you, but probably very similar to what you were doing in 2011. But now he can he's probably making a slightly better career out of it than you were able to back in 2011. Does it? I think about that with like your Barry and Kennys who are looking at your Paul and Ricky's and them thinking, well, that was us. That was us 20, 30, 25 years ago. And now look at these kids that are able to that are able to sustain themselves for the rest of their life.
Of course. Yeah, of course those thoughts crossed my mind. You know, I actually went on tour in 2011 and was somewhat successful. I won the Idlewild A tier. I took 5th at an NT, won a B tier, won a C tier in different states, courses I've never played before, you know, against good players. And I think this interview is probably the first time the majority of any disc golf media has ever caught wind of that action. So, you know, it's something I think about, but I definitely think that I have it pretty good in that I'm still around and still get to participate and get to live vicariously through Nate, you know, and seeing him be as successful as he has. You know, I actually made the comment this weekend, you know, Barry is still out there playing, you know, and he's
high level playing at
US
45 or whatever he is.
Yeah, in the early 2000s, he was the best player in the world, you know, kind of the only one to make a true claim against Climo after his dominant run. So I don't know what those guys were paid or what their financial, you know, situation is like, but had that transpired today, they would be set. So it's, you know, every sport is going to have that, right? I mean, what were the top, any sport, what were the top golfers doing back in 1900, right? And then the invention of the radio, they're like, oh, man, if only they were covering Byron Classic when a radio came out, I would have been famous, you know, whatever.
Yeah, so obviously all valid points. Someone said it's cool to see you come back on the show when I'm solo, but under completely different circumstances than what you were the last one, under the umbrella of a really great performance that you just had. Maker's Telemark brings that up, and yes, and they asked if you were a Men's Warehouse model as well. So
yeah, I appreciated your smart comments, and I was like, okay, I gotta do something. I mean, how can I let that slide?
With a little bit of gray, you could be the Men's Warehouse guy. I mean, you're not there yet in age, but a couple of years, we'll see.
Yeah, I'll take it if they're looking for sponsorship. I'm on board.
Yes, you could bring in outside sponsorship from Men's Warehouse. Just you'll have to find like some sort of vest to play in, but we'll make it work.
Yeah. The Joe Mez 1 million subscriber party is going to be really fancy. I'm going to make sure Men's Warehouse fits everybody for that. Yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. All right, Dion, what else? You got anything else for us here? Before we're pushing, not bad, 3.5 hours. We did a good job. We got to fill some time with Dynamite, and now I get to fill some time with Dion Might.
Yeah.
Nah.
Dion. No, that's a tough one. Nitro Glycer Dion.
Yeah,
no,
I don't know.
The whip. Do you hear Doss anytime he says my name on the coverage for the live is like, there's Dion Arlyn, Ron the whip.
The whip. Yeah. It was funny because I had to catch it at first. I'm like, his name's not Ron, and then I'm like, oh yeah, Dion Arlyn, and then I was like, okay. It took me once or twice to listen. I'm like, why is he calling him that? And then it obviously just hits me. But yeah, that's Mr. Doss for you.
Only other thing I'd say is go check out Central Coast second round coverage. I'd love to get feedback on my commentary. You know, just go destroy me in the comments. I want to know all the dumb stuff I said and all the terrible remarks I made, because I genuinely want to get better at commentary and you know, seriously want to look towards that as a way I can contribute to the sport. So anybody, you know, go check that out, give feedback. I'm wanting to improve.
I think you'd be a very good fit for that. But have you looked at, has there been any comments that you've been able to check out? Has there been any negative things so far?
Nothing negative so far. Just some folks that say it's great to see Dion, back and playing well, and some people who said, oh, Ian and Dion, good combo. But so I'll take that as positive. But I didn't say anything terrible or egregious, so hopefully it stays positive. But whatever I can do to sharpen it up, I'm down for that.
Awesome. Well, it's good to hear. Hopefully we'll get more of you on some of that post-production stuff, because I think that is a really good fit for you, particularly if you're not going to be able to be out on the tour. You can at least contribute in that manner, and I think, like I said, I think you're a natural fit for it. We need to find. I keep looking at this picture of you on UDisc, and I'm. Did they go and get that, or did you submit that on UDisc?
I submitted that leading up to the tournament. My wife was actually a photographer, so I have a couple of images, good quality images that I sent their way, and I just picked two and put them up there. And that's actually something my wife is looking to do as well, is become somewhat involved in photographing disc golf, because that's just not out here on the West Coast.
Yeah, we have. There's a. I think isn't Stu in your area? Stu Mullenberg doing some photography for disc golf on occasion, and I know Alyssa Van Lannen is traveling with the tour in general. But I think that there's always room for a good, talented photographer. I was just scouring around for some pictures of Portland, and I'm like, I wish I just had a picture of Blue Lake here for some. I'm putting together the highlight clips from this weekend. There's a few things I want to try to get into a better habit of doing after events, is take all the highlights I have, just throw some music under them, put a nice intro and an exit, and just say, hey, this is kind of the weekend. Jomez does something similar, but they only have MPO 1 or 2, whatever card they're on. I don't know if CCDG does that, but we're fortunate enough to be able to have 3 rounds of FPO, 3 rounds of MPO, and you can really kind of go through the whole weekend with all the clips. And the other thing I want to do is put together more animated GIFs. I have a few funny ones from this particular weekend that I was clipping out and sending privately to some people. There's 1 or 2 of Eagle. There's 1 or 2 of Simon. And just in general, a few of those when the situation is right. I got the one. I think I've got one of Simon falling down, and I've got one of Simon swiping at the camera in humor.
Nice.
So I was pretty. Yes, there's one of Eagle's elbow, and one of just him doing a tumble. I thought it would be really funny. I may have done this privately and not shared it publicly, of putting Eagle's tumble inside of the Disc Golf Strong video, and as one of the workouts, and sent it to Seth. That may or may not privately be out there, but I personally can't make that see the light of day. But if anybody else was out there, that's maybe just an idea that's out there. It was. I had a.
What kind of coverage are you?
What was that?
What kind of coverage are you and Terry doing for the fling? You're filming catch cam, but is it just going to be under Disc Golf Guy and?
Yeah, it's just going to be under the Disc Golf Guy for FPO 1. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully he uses a couple of my shots, and I'm really using it as an excuse to get out to Portland, because A, I've never been to Portland, but B, I've never been to the Beaver State Fling. I guess that's not actually true. I think I was in the Portland airport on our way to Japan. I think we landed there for like an hour or 2, and then took off and went to Japan when we went to the Japan Open in 2010, or 2012. I think it was the 2010 one. Anyway, so I think I've laid over in Portland, but that doesn't really count as being in the city. So I want to check that out. But yeah, we're just going to be doing some post-production coverage. I don't know if I'm going to be doing any editing. I'm not really good at it. I can do really basic, put clips together. Terry's really fast at it, and he's good at it, so I might try to help out. If not, I'm going to have a lot of free time, and I'm probably going to go explore the area a little bit.
Nice. If you guys, do you already have a vision for, post-produced commentary or whatever? Basically, I'm just trying to say, use me if that is an option.
I will pass that along to Terry. I don't know what his plans are. for the most part, he bought my my plane ticket, and I'm going to sit and carry a camera around, and everything else I'm leaving up to him. So I don't.
Totally.
Thankfully, I don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Cool.
Someone says I should caddy for Dion. I would love to caddy for Dion. It all depends on what the timetables look like for FPO and MPO. Because I looked at the schedule of the Beaver State Fling, and it says players from 11 a.m. to 12:30. Players check in. This is Saturday and Sunday. Players check in at 15 minutes before their tee times. So it really depends on if they start both groups at the same time. Let's just say 11:30. There's obviously a lot smaller FPO group, so the FPO lead card might be done by the time the MPO lead goes off, because I think their tee times on days 2 and 3. So yeah, it have to be if it says checking before your tee times, duh. And the first day is a shotgun start, so everybody's gonna be
Correct.
shooting at the same time. So depending on how quickly the FPO can get through the round will determine what I can do after that. Or if everyone doesn't start at 11:30 and for somehow they time it out so the women's lead card starts at the same time as the men's lead card, then I'm out of luck. But we'll see.
Yep.
We'll get it figured out. Cool. All right, Dion. Weston Warren says Terry is jealous. JVD is having a crush on you. Not yet, but we'll see.
I don't think Terry's jealous of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm the crush that Terry's worried about. So.
Yeah, exactly. See.
Yeah.
No, but we'll see who I can caddy for. I'd be happy to caddy for almost anybody. I would love to caddy for an FPO player as well, but that is absolutely not going to be possible. Doing the camera work of the lead card. We know everybody will be out there. So, because I sometimes I watch some of the FPO players, and I think not all of them, not Kat, not Paige. I don't think I would have any good input on their game because they are way better than me. But sometimes I watch some of the shot selection some FPO players take, and I think, was that the right shot selection for you? Maybe it was based on their game, and clearly they know their games better than I do. But I would love to be able to sit there sometimes and Beaver State Fling probably isn't the one, but just sit and talk to them. Not necessarily tell them what to throw, but ask them why they threw what they threw. Like, get a real in-depth, in the head of a player during a round, and it would be a difficult accomplishment because I'd like to record it and just be like, okay, Madison, you throw forehand and backhand. Why did you choose the backhand of this shot versus a forehand when it looks like it sets up more for a forehand? Is it the distance? Is it how you throw? Is it your wrist that I know you've had issues with? Like that. I don't want to tell them what to throw, but I want to find out what they throw and why they do it. Because sometimes I literally sit behind the board and I question, like, I wonder why they went that route particularly.
Sure.
So.
Well, I think there's room for that. I think a disc golf segment that I could offer up would be, instead of a full round coverage, maybe like a 3-hole dive with a player. You know, so you get a 15-minute video and you're just clipping together 3 holes, and it's maybe a hole they played well, a hole they played poorly, and you're kind of just like, tell me about the shot, break it down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be kind of the insight that you're looking for, and maybe a digestible, 5-minute video that people might get behind.
No, that's a really good idea. I think something like that, and you could pick holes particularly that are not necessarily ones where they park. It could be, but it could also be ones where they have a bad shot and you wonder,
right.
Or ones maybe you question their shot. Simon is a perfect example because he always takes strange routes.
Sure.
But why? A Sexton would be another good player. Like, why do you throw a forehand here?
Yeah.
On this 320-foot shot when you have the backhand, which maybe has a slightly cleaner line, but maybe you're just more confident with your forehand. So that's those in-depth kind of questions. I know Paige Pierce is doing something similar to that with her nice line, but she's, I think, taking one particular hole and breaking it down for FPO, and I think there's more room for things like that.
For sure. And as far as caddying goes, I was going to say earlier, as far as like traditional golf goes, there are some caddy-player relationships where the player does not do any of the thinking whatsoever.
Yeah.
And they act as a tool for the caddy to direct around the course. So it just kind of depends on your style and your preference. And disc golf doesn't have much caddying, so that's not really been a thing. But I think that there are lots of women, Paige and Kat included, that if you were to pair up with a top mind in the game, doesn't have to be a pro, but just someone who really kind of studies the game. I think if Paige or Kat had the personality where they would be willing to turn off the brain for a round and only do what was directed of them, I think you would see some pretty great results. Paige gets in trouble all the time because she has all the tools and plays really aggressive and plays super hungry. But I think if she were to tone it down or just be told what to do and she could accept that, even just as an experiment, I'm not saying this is a good idea or what she should do. I'm just saying this would just be kind of interesting to see. I bet you could get a pretty good round out of her.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was thinking of as well, for Paige, because you're right, she is really aggressive, and sometimes after, it's great when it works out, oh cool, she was super aggressive there and she parked it, but there are so many times when she's super aggressive and you're like, you were too aggressive and you end up going OB. It would be fun, almost like a video game, it would be fun to be the brains behind the player and tell them, no, this is what I want you to throw here, please. I know you want to throw the driver, but let's back down and throw your stable mid-range, and let's see how it works out. And be the and you be the controller, and then they be the video game. It would be fun. It would be a really fun thing to try it like a B tier, because and see how it works out.
I watch Paige play, and I think of all of the women players. She has the raw skill set of 1,000 rated player. She's got power. She has angle control. She's got great outside putting, way better outside putter than I am, and then decent inside putting. And I think if you were to put her in a field, maybe in an MPO competition, and say, we're going to get you 15th place at Blue Lake, at the Portland Open, I think you could do that. You could walk her through a round and what it would take to get to that outcome. Not to say she couldn't just do that by herself, but I think it would be fun to not let her make the gut decisions of knowing what she's capable of and throwing for that, and restricting her only to the highest percentage shot and make her play the most boring golf she's ever played. I think that's the fun in that experiment.
Sure, and you might be able to do that. That would be interesting for maybe a practice round as well. But obviously, it's practice and play are always two very, very different things. Yep. Carver John says if she could putt, she'd easily be 1,000 rated.
She can putt. I don't think it's a matter of putting. I think it's just a matter of having the discipline to put yourself in position where you don't have to putt. Let's be honest. She's so good. I think she can get away with a lot of the aggressive play. Look at someone like Nate. He doesn't have the most out of this world skill set. He has consistency, he's got execution, he's got good strategy, and he destroys on courses like Blue Lake and USCGC and Ledgestone because he's not letting himself get caught up in the shots he can execute or that he's able to execute. He's just throwing shots he knows he's going to execute.
Correct.
And just that's that.
Yeah, and that's, I think Paige has the same fault of Paul Macbeth sometimes.
Yeah.
Paul gets very aggressive because he can make up for it. If he goes on a par 4, if he decides he wants to try to eagle it, he crushes it and goes out of bounds near the basket. He can pitch up for maybe a birdie or at worst a par.
Yep.
And whereas other players are just, like Ricky, cool, I'm going to play up to here, I'm going to play up to here, I'm going to get a birdie every time. You might take an eagle from me 1 out of every 4, and you might birdie 2 out of 4, but you're going to take a bogey 1 out of 4. And so it's there's an interesting game to be played. And I will say Paige has had an issue with her short putts, but you're right, her long putts, anything outside the circle, are so good. Like,
yes,
I mean, it's ridiculous. If I could if I could give her Lisa Fakis's putt, she would be unstoppable. And from inside the circle. But
I stick by my guns and say it's not the short putt that's doing her in. I think
No,
it's the up
overall-
and down of the round.
Overall, you're
Yeah.
right. I'm just saying, like, if you could give her that short putt, she'd be unstoppable. But for what her position is, you're right. It's her aggressive play. It's the OB strokes she's taking. It's it's the few mistakes that she racks up every round
Sure.
where you're thinking like, yeah, it's awesome. You just eagled a 430-foot hole, but guess what you did on the 400-foot hole before that, where you pushed the OB and you went OB left, and you're going to take a bogey. She's
Right.
so much more up and down than some of the other players. It's just that her, I don't know if you consider her downs, her good shots, ups, downs, whatever, are more frequent than her bad ones right now, and she can afford to get away with that in that division.
You know who needs Lisa Fikas's putt? Me.
Yes, I was gonna say you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, me too. I mean, I like watching. I like watching Lisa putt.
Yeah, I'll take that all day.
She's a good long distance putter too, with her little hot putt. But inside the circle, she's just fun to watch because I always think like, yeah, this is probably going in. Like, there's almost no one. Owen Scoggins used to be that way, but for Lisa, there's nobody I'm more confident of inside that circle in the FPO division than Lisa. Like,
Yep.
you'll watch Kat go streaky. Sometimes she'll just start hitting the front of the basket for whatever reason, just because the way this like pendulum putt she has. Sometimes she just
Sure.
doesn't bring it up. Paige is the same way. Sometimes Paige will just get off, and she gets really nervous, I think, when that starts happening. But Lisa, she's got this great form for her, and it works. And I like to watch her putt. I really do. Like, I just get so confident. I'm like, oh, cool, this is in. This is going to be a 25-footer for Lisa, and she's going to put it in. Now, if Lisa just needs a little bit more discipline, discipline's not the right word, a little more control of her drives, and I think
Right.
she could be up with Paige and Kat. So we'll see. I think there's definitely room for improvement in the FPO field. There's room for improvement in the MPO field too, but with the FPO, I think there's a little bit more room for improvement in some aspects for the women that could really elevate their games to another level. Right now, I feel like the men are making incremental improvements over the last couple of years. The players are starting to throw a little further. Their putts are all starting to get a little bit better. With the women, I think there's bigger room for improvement in the field. So
Yeah, and that'll just come with numbers.
it will.
More players, more talent.
Yep.
Folks like Paige will have to focus for all 18 holes. And then then she'll still be the best.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yeah, because I think as the field pushes her, she'll definitely improve with the field, because there's no one in the next 5 years I see that's going to be catching her for the most part in pure distance. I mean, even some of the Finnish players like Evelina and Kristen Tatar, they're still 50 to 60 feet behind her when Paige wants to really unleash on a drive. So it's just, yeah, she's fun to watch. She's fun to watch throw because she has that great pullback and snap through. I think you know about that.
I might know a thing or two, Johnny. I might know a thing or two.
You
about
do
that.
know a thing or two, that's for sure. All right, Dion, I'm going to let you go because it's late and I'm going to go to bed. It's 1 a.m. here, and I'm going to quickly put out a little podcasts for all of our Patreon supporters. I've got this Sarah Hokum disc I'm going to give away next week. I know we talked about it this week, but I'm really too lazy to get all the stuff together right now and put it out. So this MVP Sarah Hokum disc will go out to one of our lucky Patreon supporters next week. This is a trace, by the way, along with another Patreon gift I think that Terry probably showed us tonight. So, and you can get in on that on patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. So for our after show guest, Dion Arlyn, I am John Van Derzen, and thank you for joining us tonight on the Smashbox Podcast 249, our Portland Open recap for the regular show and the after show. So
There you go. Good night,
everybody.
Smashies.
Good night, everybody. And the Smashies. We love them the most.